Let me know if I sound garbled or my connection is trash at any point.
Oh, you sound good.
Okay, great, great. All right. All right. All right. That seems to be working. And it seems to be working on this end. So, as many of you know, I've been posting religiously about the passage of Bill 702. For those of you who don't know what Bill 702 is, it's basically a surveillance supporter of FISA. And so FISA is a government surveillance program. It's basically what they use to spy on foreign potential spies, these people that can be considered a threat to national security. But what Bill 702 does is that extends that to the general populace, it extends that to regular citizens and gives the government permission to spy on you without a warrant. And so on Saturday, Biden signed into legislation after several divisions, a law, whether it be into law, whether the FBI be restricted from using program search Americans' data, and nearly forced the statute into relapse. So this is extremely unconstitutional, but of course they don't care because most people don't even know about this. They don't know that this is going on. But yes, it was signed into law at midnight when people weren't paying attention to it, when people weren't particularly interested in politics. Most people were asleep. Most people couldn't protest. Most people couldn't confront them about it. And so, hold on, I'm getting something. I'm getting notifications. Thank you. Um, yeah, but it's a lot midnight so that they wouldn't have any real pushback, so they wouldn't have any real. If you're requesting to speak, go ahead and just give me a second because I need to run through this really quickly. But yeah, so the fact that they didn't get any pushback is a huge reason why they are carrying on with other bills and other laws this way. Is why I always tell people, I know it's boring, but please leave C-SPAN on your TV at all times. You cannot trust CNN. You cannot trust MSNBC. You cannot trust these other quote unquote news sources that are trying to feed you information that contributes to the noble lie, that contributes to the formation of your habitus and the things that you're willing to accept. So, U.S. officials have said, and I read this part from an article, which is ironic, but U.S. officials have said that the surveillance tool, first authorized in 2008 and renewed several times since then, is crucial in disrupting terrorist attacks, cyber intrusions, and foreign espionage. It's also produced intelligence that the U.S. has relied on for specific operations, such as the 2022 unaliving of a group leader, Ayman al-Zawahiri. So, if you miss a key piece of intelligence, you may miss some event overseas or put troops in harm's way. Florida Senator Marco Rubio, the top Republican on the Senate Intelligence Committee, said, "You may miss a plot to harm this country here domestically or somewhere else." So in this particular case, there's real life implications. Saying that is particularly interesting because they are using this to disrupt grassroots movements in the country on the homeland. That's really the real reason why they extended this bill into spying on the data of citizens. That's why they haven't pursued Facebook and selling our data. That's why they haven't pursued other social media. They only want to go after TikTok, specifically because TikTok is a place where a lot of people are being able to organize effectively. I myself have met several people from over social media. We've been planning marches, we've been planning mutual aid, and all these different things that disrupt the intentions of the U.S. government. And they can't have that. They also want access to our data, and TikTok isn't giving it to them. And it's only they're doing this because it's only a matter of time before they move to Web3. And Web3 is completely, well, I'm not going to say completely, but it's more secure than anything that we've had, any of its predecessors. And it will basically scramble and encrypt all data, and make it largely inaccessible to the people who want to steal or exploit that data to manipulate people. Section 702 permits the U.S. government communications of non-Americans located outside the country to gather intelligence. Reauthorization has faced a long and bumpy road to the final passage Friday after months of clashes between privacy advocates and national security hawks pushed the consideration of the legislation to the brink of expiration. Though the spy program was technically set to expire at midnight, the Biden administration said that it had expected its authority to collect intelligence and remain operational for at least another year, thanks to an opinion earlier this month from a foreign intelligence surveillance court, which receives applications. Still the congressional authorization, especially since communications companies could cease operation with a government program if it's allowed to lapse. Hours before the set to expire, U.S. officials were already scrambling for two major U.S. communication providers who said they would stop complying with orders, though the surveillance program, according to a person familiar with the matter, who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss private negotiations. Now, they say foreign, like it doesn't apply to citizens, but it does. And I'm going to read from that in a minute. So, the reauthorization of Section 702 gives the U.S. authority to continue to collect foreign intelligence information about non-U.S. persons located outside the United States, while at the same time codifying important reforms the Justice Department adopted to ensure the protections of Americans' privacy and civil liberties. That is also a lie. This allows that if you are a protester or if you're doing something that is seen as a threat to national security or a threat to the political consensus of the United States, they can collect information about you and use it against you. All right. But and also I'm reading from CBS News, so take it with a grain of salt. But despite the Biden administration's urging in classified briefings to senators this week on the crucial role they say spy program plays of protection in protecting national security, a group of progressive and conservative lawmakers who were agitating for further changes had refused to accept the version of the bill that the House sent over the last week. Lawmakers demanded that Schumer allow votes on amendments to the legislation that would seek to address what they see as a civil liberty loopholes in the bill. In the end, Schumer was able to cut that deal and would allow critics to receive floor votes on the amendments in exchange for speeding up the process of passage. So y'all didn't really want anyone to read it. 6 amendments ultimately failed to garner the necessary support on the floor to be included in the final passage. One of the major changes detractors had proposed was restricting the FBI's access to information about Americans through the program. This is the big point they're leaving out. Hey, Sasha, happy to see you live. I love you. Keep your movement strong. Thank you so much. I'm here because of you guys. I'm here because of my biggest supporters, and I want to tell the truth as often as possible to help people organize effectively. Tap the screen, send this up to the For You page. I think it's very important that people know about this. And hello to all of you in Twitter land, on YouTube land, Facebook land, LinkedIn land, and Twitch. Oh, wow, there's comments that I didn't see. Oh, hey, what's up? All right, let me get back to this. Request line. Please don't make this any dangerous because I'm streaming on TikTok. If you do request to speak, please don't swear. Please don't do anything that's going to get my account taken down. I already got the ops gunning for me, so thank you, Hillary. Every day, all day, every day. But yeah, through the surveillance tool, though the surveillance tool is said to only target non-Americans in other countries, it also collects communications of Americans when they are in contact with those targeted foreigners. It says targeted, but it means all of them. So basically, if you give them a reason to spy on you, they will. And again, none of this is new information, but people are realizing that a lot of the civil protections that we originally had are being lost to these new bills, and it all ties into Project 2025, which I'm going to talk about later. Please share the live and please tap the screen. Make sure it gets out there to people who need to hear it. Senator Dick Durbin, the second Democrat in the chamber, has been pushing a proposal that would require the U.S. officials to get a warrant before accessing American communications. If the government wants to spy on my private communications or the private communications of any American, they should be required to get approval from a judge, just as our founding fathers intended in writing the Constitution. And of course, they're not going to do that. Oh, thank you. I appreciate the support. Everything through my social media goes directly to mutual aid and improving women's condition around the globe. Right now, my targets are making sure Madison gets what she needs, sending money to the Aisha Foundation, and doing mutual aid on the weekends sometimes the last week of the month, especially in the summertime when I've noticed more women becoming homeless. But members on both the House and Senate Intelligence Committees, as well as the Justice Department, warned that requiring a warrant would severely handicap officials from responding to imminent national security threats. And they keep throwing this national security at this point is a buzzword because they keep throwing it out there to mean literally anything that they feel is a threat to the habitus. And for those of you who don't know what the habitus is, it's basically of the lie. Again, it's the dispositions that individuals develop through like socialization and experience. So they're literally forming and manipulating a habitus. I would recommend that everyone listening read that book, Manufacturing Consent. It will show you how they are able to create a general ideology amongst the populace, thing like throwing out buzzwords like the term national security. I'm not saying that, there aren't threats or whatever, but of course this is being utilized to crush grassroots movements in the homeland because it is a threat to the habitus. I think that's a risk that we cannot afford to take with the vast array of challenges our nation faces around the world, said Senator Mark Warner from Virginia, the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee. And this guy, you guys, I'm not going to say it on here. Just look up Mark Warner, Virginia. This guy is not your friend. He's nobody's friend. He is quite literally Big Brother's right hand. And he also looks like a smoker, but that's just me. So, I'm looking up something else right now. And also look up Sullivan because this dude is like the evil incarnate. I'm going to begin to read from the Mandate of Leadership, which is a 920-page, multi-point manifesto of how the Republican leaders are going to instate a Christo-fascist state in the U.S. What's up, Liz? No worries. Better late than never. What's up, supervillain? But yes, they're going to instill a Christo-fascist utopia in the U.S. Their goal is for us to live in this twisted version of this twisted dystopia of 1984 meets The Handmaid's Tale, and we have a limited amount of time to be able to combat this, and that's why I'm trying to tell as many people as possible. I will get to the loss of Title IX. It's just let me read this small portion first, and then it'll make more sense after I do that. So this is this is not something I agree with. This is something I vehemently oppose. This is their goal. So wait, let me scroll back up because I was reading yesterday and I had to go down a little bit. I'm a little disorganized because I've gotten, again, no sleep at all. Oh yeah, and the list of people. I'm going to be posting the entire document. I don't think anyone's going to read the whole thing, but I think that you should at least review the people who have contributed to this because they are running for office, and we should not be voting for them. I do have to sleep, but you know what? I'll sleep when I'm dead. So Pillar 1. This volume puts in one place. Wait, let me get my glasses because I'm really struggling right now. I don't want to put them on my face because I don't want shit on my ears, but Pillar 1. This volume puts into place a consensus, a view of how major federal agencies must be governed and where disagreement exists in brackets out of these differences for the next president to choose a path. Pillar 2 is a personnel database that allows candidates to build their own professional profiles and our coalition members to review and voice their recommendations. So basically, they're building a cult of personality around them. Rest is revolutionary. Take care of you too. You know what? And I will, but there's just so much to be done. And I'm one person and I'm trying to find my people. By the way, anyone here, if you are in Florida, we are organizing mutual aid and marches starting in May. So if you're interested in that, please hit me up at the end of May. That's when we're doing it. And if you can attend or if you can contribute in any way, hit me up. But yeah, so they're building a cult of personality around them. An employment database is basically saying, we are going to have a database of conservative candidates or conservative workers. Liz, period. Where they can choose from instead of picking a potential outsider where they would face resistance from, or who might oppose any particular thing that is relevant to their long-term goal of creating this dystopia for the rest of us. These recommendations will then be collated and shared with the president-elect's team, gently streamlining the appointment process. Pillar 3, the president is the president's, excuse me, y'all. I'm very anxious right now. Pillar 3 is the Presidential Administration Academy, an online educational system taught by experts from our coalition. For the newcomer, this will explain how the government functions and how to function in the government. For the experience, we will host an in-person seminar, advanced training to set the bar for what is expected of senior leadership. So again, the Amazon link. I didn't put it in this one because I didn't have space, and I don't know if people are going to start requesting up in the box in case you have questions. Anyone who does have questions, feel free to ask at any point. Raise your hand or just stop me. Where was I? Yes. So basically, they're teaching them how to abide by what the government feels as appropriate. This is a form of grooming and brainwashing where they're basically telling you, okay, listen, if you're going to work for us, this is what you're going to do, and this is how you're going to do it. In Pillar 4, the playbook, we are forming agency teams and drafting transitional plans to move upon the president's utterance of "so help me God." So that's basically them instilling the religious element of it. And as we know, separation of church and state is one of the pillars of what's supposed to be one of the pillars of American society that they seek to abolish. And so they attempt to reach out to the general populace by saying, as Americans, living at the approach of our nation's 250th birthday, we have been given much. As conservatives, we are much required to steward in this precious heritage for the next generation. On behalf of our coalition partners, we thank you and invite you to come join with us at project2025.org. This is a cult, y'all. This is definitely a cult. So now I'm going to go into the loss of Title IX. One thing that I want to highlight is the element of thought crime and newspeak. So newspeak is basically them reinventing or consolidating language, hypersimplifying it, and then removing certain terms so that we don't have the ability to describe what's happening to us. And we saw this with the loss of Title IX. As we know that there are not many sex-based protections for women in American society. We saw what that did to Australia. We saw what that did to Canada. We saw what that did to Germany. And because of this, women are struggling. Women do not have the ability to organize in groups of larger than 25. And that can very well become the United States. And people don't believe this because they think, oh, well, the United States is a free country. Did my Twitter just crash? Yes, it did. Sorry, y'all. I guess my Twitter just crashed. But basically, yeah, we saw this with the loss of Title IX and the loss of one of the major sex-based protections in society. They're noticing a drop in population, which is a big problem for them because they need for people to be in a desperate situation in order for them to continue to perpetuate the noble lie. And what happens to women when they begin families, everything like their priorities begin a major shift. And so these women who would have otherwise had time to organize or invest in themselves or invest in their like community building, whatever have you, they're now currently worried about, I have to protect my family. I have to maintain my family. And so this is how a lot of activist movements were sabotaged in the earlier days. For instance, prohibition. Women started prohibition, and it was initially to address concerns of domestic violence or women not having access to banking or financing or being able to participate in the job market. And so we're essentially at the mercies of their husbands or male relatives. And so what happened was the homes began to fall apart and the responsibility fell solely on the women to maintain them. So these women had to leave these movements, they had to leave these initiatives and go back to the home while men took over essentially the prohibition movement and made it about banning alcohol and Puritanism, and then essentially never addressed these women's issues. The same thing happened with the French Revolution, where women had lost everything. They had began by protesting unclothed in the streets and going on hunger strikes. And then essentially when Napoleon was able to secure power, he reduced women's role in society to that of a minor child. They were reduced to the property of their husbands and could not. They had no mobility in society without male permission, and we call that chaperoning. We're watching this, we're witnessing this phenomenon occur throughout the globe, where chaperoning is the primary. If someone wanted to speak, if you wanted to request to speak, go ahead. Sorry, I missed it. But basically, chaperoning is having some sort of male authority figure involved in either female organizing or events or female spaces. And that's why we have these laws that say, well, if you are a female person, you need a male chaperone to accompany you in this march, in this organization, in this meeting, and blah, whatever have you. Blah, blah, blah. Y'all get the point. I don't think I went over unpersoning. For anyone who's unfamiliar with unpersoning, please raise your hand or comment in the live. Let me know. I will explain it to you. What's up, Joan? Yeah, okay, so unpersoning is the act of removing someone throughout history. We've seen this done in North Korea. We've seen this done with Stalin. And what they do is, if you violate the habitus, gyno-extirpation, is that what you were trying to write? Yes, it is very familiar. It's very similar to gyno-extirpation. So it's basically the act of removing someone from historical roles. What they will do is, like, they'll completely erase you from news stories and photograph you out of photos and essentially they will criminalize mentioning your existence, basically removing the context of you from history and either placing someone there or just erasing that role entirely and insinuating to the populace that you never existed in the first place. So that is unpersoning. We already live in a heavy surveillance state. This is global. This is inescapable. No, you're good. You're good. This is global. This is inescapable. We have CCTV on every corner. We have these devices in our hands that spy on us for the government. They are already allowed to collect data from us, and more so without a warrant because of the passage of Bill 702. I don't know about y'all, but I'm constantly speaking to women overseas, women in China and Korea and India, and one sister in Iran and one sister in Germany and another in Belgium. And so, of course, my communications are being monitored. So I have to be careful about what I say because, when you get that knock on the door, you don't want to be unpersoned. Why do my glasses keep falling? Let me get my cord because my phone's dying and I should have charged it earlier. All right. I'm going to get to the community building part in a second. I don't want to feed people a bunch of doom and gloom, but I think it's important that everyone knows this because it affects everyone. And the political state of America influences the political state of other countries, especially the global South. And unfortunately, that political influence is what will make this inescapable, and it will potentially cause a global dystopia, which is what I want to avoid. I see them releasing videos like, oh, I'll just move to another country. But what happens when it happens there too? Will you move from there also? What happens when the influence of American politics starts spreading to other countries? Will you just keep moving until there's nowhere left? That's not an option. We have a duty to stay here and fight for those of us who can. And for those of us who can support, it is your duty to support them. The USA is one of the least free Western countries. We're like 17 on the Freedom Index. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We have very few protections, and we're expected to accept this and continue with perpetuating the habitus because they don't think that we deserve advocacy and that we are essential extensions of male people. So back to the mandate for leadership. Let me scroll down some more. This is just a list of, it's a whole lot of people who jumped on this bandwagon. And I think it's particularly scary because a lot of these people have leadership roles in society. And so this has a very real chance of happening because people are I'm fed up with Joe Biden, and most people don't want to vote for him for a second term because he stepped on the toes of the people who who essentially put him in office, and they have sabotaged other candidates. And now that people know about this, they're like, y'all are corrupt. I don't know if I want anything to do with you. If we break the USA, we break them all. Absolutely. But the USA is absolutely the pathway to that dystopia. So we want to avoid that. Stop falling glasses. So the mandate for leadership, the conservative promise. 4 years ago, the United States and the conservative movement were in dire straits. Both had been betrayed by the Washington establishment and were uncertain whom to trust. Both were internally split and strategically adrift. Worse still, at the moment of acute vulnerability and division, we found ourselves besieged by existential adversaries, foreign and domestic. So they're basically calling anyone who was like involved in progressive movements terrorists. Should I say that on here? Probably not. If I get banned, you guys know why. Follow me to YouTube land or TikTok land in case that happens. If that happens. All right. Why is this text so small? Oh, but I can make it bigger. Can't I? Can I make it bigger? I can. Okay, so you stay here. The late 1970s were by any measure a historic low point for America and the political coalition dedicated to preserving the unique legacy of human flourishing and freedom. So basically, they didn't want us to have things like Roe v. Wade. They didn't want us to have workplace protections. And in the late 70s, you have to realize this was the time where it's only been 50 years since women were allowed to own credit cards without their husband's permission in America, or their father's permission in case they weren't married. Today, America and the conservative movement are enduring an era of division and danger akin to the late 1970s. Now, as then, our political class has been discredited by wholesale dishonesty and corruption. Look at America under the ruling of the cultural elite today. Inflation is ravaging family budgets. Rug overdose and death, unalives continue to escalate. Children suffer the toxic normalization of genderism, with drag queens and pornography invading their schools and libraries. Now, here's the thing, right? These are issues that radical feminists have historically discussed as issues, but not in this context. So the issue about pornography is that it's a civil rights violation. It's a human rights issue, but they are making it into a moral one so that they can shift the blame to women in society and also use it as a guilt platform, because they know that the women who are involved in the X trade are involved for the purposes of survival. Mostly, an overwhelming majority are involved for the purposes of survival. Overseas, a totalitarian communist dictatorship in Beijing is engaged in a strategic, cultural, economic Cold War against America's interests, values, and people, all while globalist elites in Washington awaken slowly to the growing threat. Moreover, low-income communities are drowning in addiction and government dependence. Contemporary elites have repurposed the worst ingredients of the 1970s radical chic to build a totalitarian cult we know today as the Great Awakening. So this is a lie. This is a straight up lie. The Great Awakening is basically, it's a mass disillusionment by mostly women to the systems and institutes. Like, there's a reason that we've seen a rise in young women being interested in like radical feminism. Oh shit, what's up, Frequency? Being interested in things like radical feminism and anti-marriage and anti-pornography and all of the institutions that are generally a net negative for us. And we're seeing this with the cultural trend being women are starting families later or not at all. Women are engaging in things like the 4B movement, and they're not participating enough in traditional systems and institutions, and they see it as a threat to their existence because they cannot perpetuate the habitus this way. And now as then, the Republican Party seems to have little understanding about what to do. Most alarming of all, the very moral foundations of society are in peril. Yet the students of history will note that notwithstanding those challenges, the late 1970s proved to be the moment where the political right unified itself. So basically, they unified themselves to come against the liberation of female people. So we have to think about this timeline, right? The late 1970s, which means the end of the 1970s and the beginning of the 1980s, was around the time where the counterintelligence program was able to fragment, dismantle, and disrupt original feminist movements and destroy the critical core principles because they were afraid that these particular women were a threat to society. Um, and we were, and we are, because these systems and institutions don't deserve to exist. If your systems and institutions rely on the repression and denigration of a particular class of people, then it doesn't deserve to exist. Okay. By a show of hands, who is familiar with what happened with the counterintelligence program and the feminist movement? If you're not, raise your hand. No, we were fine with the women. We weren't fine with the X trade. It isn't. You cannot regulate the violence out of the X trade, and it dehumanizes women. And I just got the blue flag. So if you see at the bottom, learn more about U.S. elections. Um, please don't click on that. This is not what this is about. But yeah, we were not. Here is the thing: the critical core principles of the feminist movement is that we supported these women because they were disenfranchised, but we didn't want them to suffer. Right? We didn't want them to be on the streets or be violated in these videos or be violated in these clubs. We supported them wholeheartedly, but that doesn't mean that we wanted them to suffer. Um, for educational purposes only. Yeah, I should have said that. I probably should have said that, but now I got flagged, so it's too late now. But yes, we never supported these institutions because it contributed to the dehumanization of women and portrayed women as carriers or providers, or no. It portrayed women as vehicles for the provision of sexual pleasure and reduced us to objects who had to be convinced to participate in our own sexuality. And for those of you on the other platforms who are concerned with the way I'm speaking, it's because I'm also live on TikTok and they're very heavily censored, and I don't want to get that 18 plus flag because that is basically a death sentence. For my glasses keep falling and it's irritating me, and I don't want anything touching my ears, so it's making it worse. Okay, but yeah. So I'm gonna play something real quick from me because I shouldn't have done that. Where is it? Here it is. Cloud project saving, automatic tempo detection, and pitch shifting. I will do that. I will do that later. Oh, sorry. Today, we're going to examine the methods employed by this institution and the impact of those actions. Okay, hold on. Sorry. It started in the middle. I was doing a class earlier and then, yeah. COINTELPRO. Jesus Christ. Okay, how do I get rid of it? COINTELPRO represents a dark period in the history. Why? Why do you keep doing this to me? Sorry, y'all. I'm in my dinosaur era. I am technically illiterate now. I went from a MySpace baddie programming people's profiles to not knowing how to work Windows 7. Today, we're going to... Please, why are you doing this to me? Okay, we start from the beginning. COINTELPRO represents a dark history of American democracy, demonstrating how government agencies can abuse their power to suppress legitimate social movements. The feminist movement, despite being targeted, did continue to grow and achieve many of its objectives, showing the resilience of collective action in the face of adversity. However, this came at the cost of the identity of the feminist movement and the abandonment of many critical core principles. The legacy of COINTELPRO serves as a cautionary tale about the importance of vigilance in protecting theory, practice, and ideological cohesion. The Counterintelligence Program, also known as COINTELPRO, initiated by the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the 1950s and officially active until 1971, has been a controversial chapter in American history, often criticized for its overreach into the lives of citizens and its effort to disrupt and discredit activist groups. So when I say officially active, I mean like officially. It was still active all the way until 1983, but not officially. So you know how the government does. COINTELPRO represents a dark period in the history of American democracy. Oh my God, it did start over? Government agencies can abuse their powers. Hold on, sorry. I'll get it from there. However, this came at the cost of the identity of the feminist movement and the abandonment of many critical core principles. The legacy of COINTELPRO serves as a cautionary tale about the importance of vigilance in protecting theory, practice, and ideological cohesion. The Counterintelligence Program, also known as COINTELPRO, initiated by the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the 1950s and officially active until 1971, has been a controversial chapter in American history, often criticized for its overreach into the lives of citizens and its effort to disrupt and discredit activist groups. So disrupt and discredit activist groups is what we're seeing happen now with a lot of like the familiar activists being kind of like canceled and things of that nature, and like new language being created to ostracize and isolate people. This trend exists as like it's self-perpetuating. So like even though it's not specifically the government only doing it anymore, it's people doing it to themselves, and they are taking advantage of this disruption and of this discord in a lot of activist groups which historically cooperated together to dismantle each other. Like we're basically dismantling each other. Crabs in a barrel mentality, if you will. Intelligence Program, also known as COINTELPRO, initiated by the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the 1950s and officially active until 1971, has been a controversial chapter in American history, often criticized for its overreach into the lives of citizens and its effort to disrupt and discredit activist groups. While COINTELPRO is most famously known for targeting civil rights organizations and its leaders, its influence extended into various movements, including the feminist movement, which sought to challenge and change systemic inequalities faced by women in society. Today, we're going to examine the methods employed by this institution and the impact of those actions. The objective of COINTELPRO was to surveil, infiltrate, discredit, and disrupt domestic political organizations that the FBI deemed subversive. Under the leadership of J. Edgar Hoover, the FBI viewed any challenge to the status quo as a potential threat to national security, including the burgeoning feminist movement that gained momentum in the 60s and 70s. Feminists were advocating for radical changes in society, including equal pay, reproductive rights, an end to domestic violence, and more. The conservative elements of the government thought that these demands seemed to threaten the traditional American family structure and societal norms. So the FBI utilized a wide range of tactics against feminists. All right, stay right there, please. So when I say radical, I mean radical for the times, because the only reason why things like the nuclear, I'm so dumb, I held up a peace sign back. We thought we were on FaceTime, but no, what's up? I'm so severely shadow banned on Instagram. I have 28,000 followers and like 5 people in the live right now. Now I get it, people are at work, right? But like, come on, bro. Out of 28,000, 3 people in this live on 4 people on Instagram. Come on now. And yeah, so dissipating. But yeah, when I say radical, I mean radical for the times, because the only reason why these systems and institutions seem to work so well is because women were not allowed to participate in society. We're not allowed to own our own wealth. And it caused this, again, this is the noble lie, right? This idea that women were born a particular way to be able to service male people, and then male people were born a particular way, naturally suited for roles of leadership and things like that. This is our noble lie. This is the thing that they're perpetuating, and this is the thing that they need in order for their systems and institutions to work. So they don't want us, like, if you look at history, women have largely had to have our power, taken from us. We had to have our power removed. And this came throughout the industrialization era, where women were largely reduced to domestic figures and removed from the roles that we played in society. And so when you look at like the little bit of recorded history that pertains to women before the industrialization eras, we were out there with men working alongside them. And they can't have this because, again, in order for them to keep men in line, they have to promise to men noble, loyal, loving female slaves. And this is why they're able to perpetuate this lie all over the world.
Intelligence program,
Please.
also known as COINTELPRO.
Oh my God. Oh my
These
God.
tactics include, but are not limited to, surveillance, both covert and overt, infiltration by agents and informants, the spread of disinformation, the creation of divisions within the feminist movement, and attempts to publicly discredit leaders. Such actions were part of a broader strategy to weaken the movement's influence and prevent it from achieving its goals. The spread of disinformation was and still is another key strategy. The FBI would plant false stories in the media, write anonymous letters to activists and organizations to breed suspicion, and even fabricate communication groups to create the illusion of betrayal or misconduct. These actions were designed to undermine the trust within the movement and between public feminist activists, thereby diminishing their influence and effectiveness. Public discreditation efforts targeted at prominent feminist leaders attempted to undermine their credibility and moral authority.
So what we have to do is, why is my phone doing this? In the context of dealing with an activist who is very publicly visible, we have to be careful about where they go, when they go. What's up, Trini? Where they go, when they go there, and their public behavior, because it becomes, once you become publicly visible as an activist, you become a target for quite literally everyone. All of your political opponents, the entire government hates you. The police hates you. Most of the military will hate you and do anything to bring you down. And when you're someone who's that unlikable and that publicly visible, people will look for things to break you down with. They will look for things to arbitrary things to either blow out of proportion or like something that you've done. Like maybe you were arrested for like drunk and disorderly. Hint, hint, wink, wink, at some point in your life. And they will use that against you. Or like you've had some falling down of some sort that they will drudge up to kind of discredit you in some way. And we've seen this be done with people who have particularly struggled maybe with like family issues or addiction or having like a divorce, and that brought up to delegitimize their political position, or to being used to call them immoral, or being used to say that like they are incapable of leadership. And so we have to be very careful for these to recognize these things when they're happening.
Public discreditation efforts targeted at prominent feminist leaders attempted to undermine their credibility and moral authority. Some of these tactics included releasing fabricated personal information to scandalize and embarrass these figures, thus detracting from their activism and message. The goal was to isolate the leaders from the base and to weaken the overall movement. Despite these efforts, the feminist movement achieved significant legislative and societal changes, such as the passage of the Equal Pay Act in 1963 and the legalization of abortion with Roe v. Wade in 1973.
So notice that, right? The legalization of these efforts is considered to be radical and extreme. If you, for instance, you hear that in the mandate for leadership, they say the late 1970s is when they lost it all. That was around the time where we had equal pay legislation, and we had access to reproductive autonomy. And they're like, well, we can't have this because now this destroys the illusion of the noble lie. This destroys the habitus.
However, the full extent of COINTELPRO's impact on the feminist movement is still significant in the present day. While it created obstacles, sowed discord, and even delayed certain achievements, the resilience of the movement and its ability to adapt and continue fighting for its goals is evident. Because of this, radical theory and practice have been largely stigmatized and replaced with more liberal, non-threatening idealism. Trade advocacy, fashion culture, the bimbo trend, and many others have slowly crept in to aid in the dismantling of female class consciousness, along with the disruption of feminist efforts. The trajectory of feminism within public and academic spheres have been marked in various waves, each with a distinct focus, methodology, and their own achievements. Liberal feminism, with its roots deeply embedded in the Enlightenment and principles of individualism and equality, have long advocated for women's integration into existing social structures, emphasizing legal reforms and equal opportunities within the framework of a capitalist society. However,
Oh shit. So Bill 702 is basically Biden signing into law that intelligence institutions have the right to spy on American citizens. No, I'll explain it. It's fine. They have the right to spy on American citizens without a warrant from a judge. And so it allows, like, if you are in communication with someone who is considered to be an unfriendly, they will monitor your communications and your activities, especially if they are politically driven. I forgot to do that. Sorry.
Non-threatening idealism. Efforts like sex trade advocacy, fashion culture, the bimbo trend, and many others have slowly crept in to aid in the dismantling of female class consciousness, along with the disruption of feminist efforts.
No, he really does, because our government is quite literally being run by rich zombies who are clinging on to every second of life so that they can hold on to power for as long as possible. They are literally rotting and they are deteriorating in office. Look at Mitch McConnell. This man cannot speak. He should not be in charge of anything. Like, I'm not even trying to roast him. I'm not trying to be funny. He can't speak. His time is over. He doesn't have to worry about the future because he doesn't have much of it left. And so why is he in office influencing what's going to happen to future generations of people who he's not going to be alive to see? Please be so for real.
The trajectory of feminism within public and academic spheres have been marked in various waves.
Wait, we went through
each with a distinct focus.
We went through this already.
Structures, emphasizing legal reforms and equal opportunities within the framework of a capitalist society.
Thank you.
However, in recent years, there have been a discernible shift as more women find promises of liberal feminism unfulfilling, leading to a resurgence of an interest in radical feminism.
Biden is at the point where he can barely walk. So, like, I agree. I don't even know why he's in office either. For me, it's disturbing. Please tap the screen, share the live. For those of you in TikTok land, for those of you in YouTube land, please like, please subscribe. For those of you who are on Twitter or Instagram, please follow. Yes, I have heard of that, which I will get to in a second. It ties into Project 2025 and the concept of social repression. Robert F. Kennedy is not our friend. He is a placeholder. If anyone was a threat to this, they would be what's his name? They would be Kennedied. They would be Kennedied.
Liberal feminism has primarily focused on achieving formal equality through legislative changes, aiming to ensure that women have the same opportunities as men to participate in public and economic spheres. However, liberal feminism's focus on formal equality has failed to address the root causes of women's oppression.
Okay, the rest of this is not relevant to Project 2025, so I'm going to go ahead and skip over that because we got a lot to cover. Let me see. Joe Biden should be in a home for dementia patients. I feel like that's wrong to laugh at that, but it's kind of true. So yes, Gloria Steinem was a CIA plant, and she was there to make sure that and people are going to hate me for saying this, but she was there to make sure that no radical elements were sewn into the feminist movement, which is why we see a lot of liberalism in the context of feminism. We see like X-straight advocacy and quote unquote bimbo feminism, things that are completely antithetical to the feminist movement being paraded as feminists. What's up, Chess? Yes, COINTELPRO never really stopped. And they're using us to perpetuate it against the government having to do it. So we're essentially doing their job for them. But yes. So the Heritage Foundation is the primary, how do I put this? They're the main evil. They're the big bad who is behind the Mandate for Leadership and Project 2025. They have essentially collected all of these major players in what they call the conservative movement to take back America. And they developed this collectively. So the Mandate for Leadership was published in January of 1981, the same month Ronald Reagan was sworn into his presidency. By the end of that year, more than 60% of its recommendations had become policy, and Reagan was on his way to ending stagflation, receiving American confidence and prosperity, and winning the Cold War. The bad news today is that our political establishment and cultural elite have once again driven toward decline. The good news is we know the way out, even though the challenges today are not what they were in the 1970s. Conservatives should be confident that we can rescue our kids, reclaim our culture, revive our economy, and defeat the anti American left at home and abroad. We did it before and we'll do it again. So, this is essentially a threat. This is them saying that we are going to reinstitute the systems and institutions that created the original habitus and perpetuate the noble lie. We are going to reestablish traditionalism by force, by any means necessary. That's what this here is saying. It has nothing to do with freedom. It has nothing to do with autonomy. They don't want us to have the liberties that were hard fought for in the 1970s by our foremothers. This plays into my how we Jesus Christ, what is that fly that keeps flying in my face? This ties into my point of developing an entirely new political party. For those of you who were here for the previous live that I did on a different channel, there was one saying that we need to take over the Democratic Party. And I told her why this is impossible. And I told her that no movement that has historically revolutionized their society of culture has ever done this. And so what we have to do is we have to form an entirely new political party. The communists didn't take over the existing parties. The suffragettes didn't take over the existing parties. They developed their own. And this is, here we go with that flag again. Oh my God, I can't say anything political without TikTok being like, we can get you out of here, please, y'all. But yes, tap the screen, F1 in the comments. It probably is some kind of a gnat, but how did it get open? I closed the window last night. But yeah, it is a requirement that we form a entirely new political party to pursue these goals, because it'll cost us way less in the long run, and it'll give us more stability in the future to form a new international political party. F1 sets the video so that it can be redisplayed on like the For You page, or it's a glitch. So we're just exploiting that until they code it out. Where's my water? I don't have it. Here's my Arizona. This is not healthy to have first thing in the morning. And that's why my teeth are rotting. But anyway, this volume, The Conservative Promise, opening the salvo of the 2025 President Transition Project. Launched by the Heritage Foundation and many of our partners in April 2022, its 30 chapters lay out hundreds of clear, concrete policy recommendations for the White House offices, cabinet departments, Congress, and agencies, commissions, and boards. Just as important as the scope of the Conservative Promise's recommendations is this breadth. Just as important. Where's the glasses now? This is difficult. Just as important as the scope of the Conservative Promise's recommendations is the breadth of its authorship. The book is a product of more than 400 scholars. Yep, dystopian tradcon horror story. Y'all, I cannot speak. I can't wait to get some sleep. I'm not gonna lie. Policy experts from across the conservative movement and around the country. Contributors include former officials, world-renowned economists, and veterans from the presidential administration. Thank you. Thank you to all the people supporting the live. I really appreciate it. And thank you for the gifts. This agenda, prepared by and for conservatives, will be ready on day one of the next administration to save our country from the brink of disaster. So these people are essentially saying, as soon as because they know that a conservative will be elected this next election cycle, because people are largely disillusioned and they don't know where to direct their anger. They know that for the most part, it's going to be either Trump or Kennedy. I don't think DeSantis is running any longer, but any of them, any conservative who goes in the office, they're going to begin implementing this manifesto on day one of that. And this is why I'm always talking about like the concept of nationalism and religion, because nationalism and religion play a huge part in the reinstituting of systems that contribute to women's or female subjugation as a whole. The Heritage Foundation is once again facilitating this work, but as our dozens of partners and hundreds of authors will attest, this book is the work of the entire conservative movement, such as the author's expression for consensus recommendations already forged, especially along four broad fronts that will decide America's future. Restore the family as a counterpiece of American life and protect children. Dismantle administrative and state dismantle the administrative state and return to the self-governance of the American people, which we never truly had. Defend our nation's sovereignty, borders, and bounty against global threats, and secure our God-given individual right to live freely, what our Constitution calls the blessings of liberty. So this is essentially giving the power back to male people, because they cannot afford for males to become disillusioned with the current system in place. And they cannot afford for women to secure significant political power anywhere in the world, because it breaks the global habitus of, it violates the noble lie of women being born inherently inferior to male people. Um, I'm gonna be honest, y'all, it's bad. This is why we're seeing a global rollback of women's rights. All of these politicians that you see that are supposedly against each other, that are supposedly enemies, they are working together. And America is the crash test dummy for this. We don't have as much time as we think we do to organize against it, which is why you have seen me pushing so hard for in-person organization, consciousness raising events, mutual aid distributions, and things of that nature. And it's also why I've been largely shadow banned on like Twitter, Instagram, Twitch. I'm not sure about YouTube because I've only got like 200 subscribers there, but it's essentially been me and like three other people who are pushing for community building at the scale that we're doing it. And it will get worse. 4B is our safety net. Yes, but we cannot put all our eggs in one basket. It is required that we start doing some reach now. We start doing community building now, because it will get a lot worse before it gets any better, even if we do stop this. My YouTube, all of my social media is the same except for Twitter, is Sister Separatist. So if you're looking for me, even my website, sisterseparatist.info, sisterseparatist.com. And what we're seeing is essentially apathy, this attitude of apathy that has been widespread in the activist sphere for a long time. And a lot of leftists have this attitude of defeatism, which I hate, because it's like, they're like, well, we can't fight it anyway, F the system, whatever. But it's like, this apathy is what's allowing them to make these advancements at such a quick rate, because people have essentially given up on organizing. We don't see activist theaters. Yeah, they are doomers. We don't see activist theater. We don't see like different groups like how showing up to each other's marches. It's just women. Women come to everything for everyone, but no one comes to our stuff. And it's very separated. And so people have like this idea of focusing on self, which I don't think is bad or wrong, but it has ultimately harmed how we are able to organize effectively. And that's why I put the onus on women, because nobody's going to come and protect us. Essentially, we have to do a lot of the work, and it's going to suck, because people are going to see what we're doing and they're going to come in and they're going to try to take credit. But we don't have a choice, right? Because we can either fight 1984 meets The Handmaid's Tale, or 1984 meets Idiocracy. And which one is easier to fight, Idiocracy or Handmaid's Tale, where everybody has like guns and we don't have anything, or pew pews and we don't have anything, right? So what was that? All right, I'm not going to be distracted. That is disturbing though. And it seems like I still have power, so it has nothing to do with me. What's up, Patty? Same old song and dance, Republican and Democrat, two sides of the same damn coin. Exactly. A lot of people think that this is going to be over if we just vote for Biden, or, if we just do this and that and get certain officials elected. But it's more than that. We need a grassroots initiative to combat this, because this is, oh my God, Instagram, are you serious? So, okay, y'all come back. I'm going to start this over because it says I have 21 seconds remaining, and I guess I can only go live for 90 minutes at a time on Instagram. So I'm sorry, y'all. Yes, male people over women, but this is what they're promising them. I will admit that we are fighting a hard fight nowadays where other women will align with. Yes. No, TikTok is fine. Yeah. Instagram only gives me like it only gives me like a couple of hold on. Oh my god. You guys, this is so it's difficult doing this like trying to stream on different platforms at the same time. I wish there was somewhere I could just do it all at once, but it's whatever. Oh my god. So I'm gonna hold on, y'all. 1 second. 1 second. One second. Oh my god. Ah. Oh my god. Camera off. Okay, all right. She's back. All right. I know that I probably have significant drop off at this point, but it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. All right. All right. All right. Where were we? Lost connection. Ooh, yeah, I'm back. All right, I'm back. Fuck. All right. Sorry for the panic. Does anyone remember where I left off at? Or I know it's organizing it or something. What was I saying about organizing? Let's see. What makes these four pieces of the conservative promise so valuable to the next president is that they'll cut through the superficial distractions and focus on the moral and foundational challenges America focuses on in history. Ah, yes. So, women being able to participate in society the way that we are, it breaks the noble lie, it violates the habitus, and they can't have that. So, like, this is cult speak for we have to put women back in the homes and men back out in the workforce so that we can continue to perpetuate ourselves as the supreme, as the major power, as this, that, and the other thing. But it will come at the cost of the subjugation and exploitation of the underclass. And female people are the global underclass. So we're going to get it the worst all over the world. Like I've said previously, there are places a man can go in a country where people look like him to escape racism, or a place where people worship like him to escape religious persecution. But there's nowhere on this planet that a woman can go to escape sexism and misogyny. That doesn't exist. Okay. This is where we're going to get into the real nasty part of it. So, ugh, this is gross. Promise one, to restore the family as the centerpiece of American life and protect our children. The next conservative president must get to work in pursuing the true priority of politics, the well being of the American family. In many ways, the entire point of centralizing political power is to subvert the family. Its purpose is to replace people's natural loves and loyalties with the unnatural ones. Unnatural meaning like women having careers and doing anything that live will end in 1 minute. We've detected live inactivity during your current live. Complete the verification to okay. All right. I don't know why they're saying inactive. I'm sitting right here speaking to you. But I guess that counts as inactivity if I'm not touching the screen constantly. Touching and tapping the screen. Why are you trying to call me in the middle of this live? Please stop. Anyway, in many ways, the entire point of centralizing political power is to subvert the family. Its purpose is to replace people's natural loves with unnatural ones. You see in this unpopular left-wing aphorism. The government is simply the name we give to things that we choose to do together. But in real life, most of the things people do together have nothing to do with the government. Now, this one is tricky, right? Because the government is no one defines the government this way. This is like a straw argument. Yes, we are back. This is a straw argument. A government is simply a system of governing people. So when you have like they're coming for communes in this way. So when they're saying that communes are not a valid living system, that people who choose to live outside of the government's influence are like the enemy of the state. And when people govern collectively as opposed to like giving their power to like a centralized entity, that they become an enemy of American values. These are the mediating institutions that serve as building blocks for any healthy society: marriage, family, work, church, school, and volunteering. The name people give to the things that we do together is community, not government. But you notice, again, nobody is arguing this. This is something that they're using to play the demonization game against radicals and then just call us all the left. They just call us all the left so that they can say, here's your enemy, target this, when they're really describing radicals. We don't call ourselves government. You notice how I say things like community building or communal or this or that? They don't want that because it takes the power out of the centralized entities. Our lives are full of interwoven and overlapping communities. Our individual and collective happiness depends on them. But most important, community in each of our lives and the life of the nation is the family. So they're basically trying to conflate the nuclear family model with the concept of having a healthy life. And we know that this doesn't work for everybody. And the only reason why it seemed to work for women is simply because they didn't have any other options. They weren't allowed to participate in society in any other way. Today, the American family is in crisis. 40% of all children born are born to unmarried mothers, including more than 70% of Black children. There is no government program that can replace the hole in the child's soul cut out by the absence of the father. This is one of the points I wanted to get to. They are seeking to cut programs for single mothers when we know most women never opt to become one. Single mothers are often left abandoned by their male partners who either grow tired of them, bored, or decide that they don't want to be a father after the child is had. And so these women are often left in desperate positions where they like extreme poverty, destitution, and things of that nature, and are forced into making desperate decisions to support their own children and themselves. Fatherlessness is one of the principal sources of American poverty, crime, and mental illness. Mental illness, teen unaliving, substance abuse, rejection of church, and high school dropouts. You notice how they keep bringing religion into it. They notice that in large, people are rejecting religion in droves like how they have never before. And that's because like the element of fear is no longer as potent as it was. And we understand the world more today than we ever have throughout history. And so a lot of the things that religion teaches us don't make sense. So many of the problems that government programs are designed to solve but can't are ultimately problems created by the crisis of marriage and the family. The world has never seen a thriving, healthy, free, and prosperous society where most children grow up without their married parents. If current trends continue, we're headed towards social implosion. So basically, they want to portray the nuclear family model as the only valid model where the man is at the top of the hierarchy, the woman is in the middle, and the children are at the bottom. But ultimately, everyone is subjected to the rule of the male figure, i.e., an institution of patriarchy. Furthermore, the next conservative president must understand that using the government alone to respond to symptoms of the family crisis is a dead end. Federal power must instead be wielded to reverse the crisis and rescue America's kids from familial breakdown. The conservative promise includes a dozen of specific policies to accomplish this existential task. Some are obvious, long-standing goals like eliminating marriage penalties and federal welfare programs in the tax code, installing work requirements for food stamps. But we must go further. It's time for policymakers to elevate family authority formation and cohesion as their top priority, and even use government power, including through the tax code, to restore the American family. So basically, what they're saying is they're going to eliminate social programs that aid single mothers or women who are struggling with poverty in order to force them to stay in this nuclear family unit, even if the husband may be abusive, even if it's limiting in their, like, we don't talk enough about reproductive abuse. We don't talk enough about trapping. We don't talk enough about forced marriage, child marriage, which is still legal in many states in the US. And what they're aiming for is to strong arm women into marrying as young as possible so that they're essentially trapped. And all of the early years that they're supposed to be using to build like a professional network, building social support systems that are going to last them for the rest of their life, learning skills that are going to carry them throughout their life and give them some sort of stability. They want to take that away. The problem is that it's not that women are having babies, it's that they're doing it out of wedlock. So that removes that element of power. Today, the left is threatening the tax exempt status of churches and charities that reject woke progressivism. They will soon turn the Christian schools and clubs into the same with this totalitarian intent. The next conservative president must take the institutions of American civil society hard target the woke culture warriors. This starts with deleting the terms sexual orientation and gender identity, diversity, equity, inclusion, gender equality, gender equity, gender awareness, gender sensitivity, abortion, reproductive health, reproductive rights, and any other term used to deprive Americans of their First Amendment rights out of federal rule, agency regulation, contract grant regulation, and a piece of any legislation that exists. So what they're saying is freedom of speech by limiting speech. Everyone knows, like, for me, I don't support the concept of gender. I don't support the institutions that support them, but I don't support limiting speech, right? Because this is just this is new speak in action. This is them condensing language and removing words and terms that do not coincide with the habitus, that don't coincide with the noble lie. And you notice that reproductive rights is thrown in there. If we can't talk about reproductive rights, then we can't talk about reproductive abuse. Yes, removing women and dehumanizing us. Again, this is what I said earlier. If they take away our language, they take away our ability to describe what's happening to us. And that is their primary goal. Pornography manifested today in the omnipresent propagation of gender ideology and the sexualization of children, for instance, is not, where are my glasses, is not political, a Gordian knot, inextricably binding, disparate claims about free speech and property rights, actual liberation, and what is that? Child welfare. It has no claim to the First Amendment protection. It's purveyors of child predators and misogynistic exploiters of women. So you want to portray yourselves as the saviors of women by removing women's ability to describe what's happening to us. Their product is as addictive and illicit as any drug, psychologically destructive as any crime. Pornography should be outlawed. People who produce it and distribute it should be in prison. I actually agree with that, but not under this context. Educators and public libraries who purvey it should be classed as registered SO, and telecommunications technology firms that facilitate it should be shuttered. I also don't disagree with that, but again, under this context, it does not help women because it does not class pornography as a civil rights violation, but a moral one. And I'm going to explain the difference in a little bit. Actually, no, I'll explain it right now. So, classifying pornography as a moral dilemma as opposed to a civil rights issue removes the context of misogyny and female specific exploitation, so that they don't actually address the issue of actual exploitation. They simply say, well, if you do it, then you're immoral and you're going to burn up. That's why I'm a spiritual being and drop religion. The more you read, the more you understand your purpose on this earth. I am not particularly religious, but I don't support the exploitation of female people. And they don't want to acknowledge that women or female people in general are not products for sale, because that also breaks the habitus. That also violates the noble lie. Because if they can't sell women, and girls, then they can't perpetuate this idea of, inferiority. Hold on. They're all the old people in office. Why does it say reconnect? It says reconnect. Okay, there we go. Thank you, Jules. Yes. And we all know, like, this is a lot of the reason for a lot of the rhetoric that we see, this whole Adam and Eve story, removing the context of birth from motherhood and humanity, telling us that we came jumping out of the side of some guy's rib. It's just another form of teaching women subjugation and then removing us from history. And I want everyone here to know that women only occupy 0.05% of all recorded history. Think about how small that is. In our schools, the question of parental authority over their children's education is a simple one. Schools serve parents, not the other way around. That is, of course, the best argument for universal school choice, a goal all conservative and conservative presidents must pursue. But even before we achieve that long-term goal, parents' rights as their child's primary educators should be non-negotiable in American schools. States, cities, countries, school boards, union bosses, principals, and teachers who disagree should immediately be cut off from federal funds. So basically saying defunding schools that want to teach children non-religious education. They want to forcibly follow the horseman model with religion, and that way it creates this affinity that children have of being taught how to think instead of how to think critically. That was the original design for public schooling. The pro-family promises expressed in this book are central to the next conservative president's agenda. We must go much further than the traditional narrow definition of family issues. Every threat to family stability must be confronted. When they say family, they mean nuclear family. What's up, Christy? Oh my God. Nice. Thank you for dropping in. All right, we should go live on Twitter sometime so we can get you some, once I get off this shadow ban, so we can get you some followers. Because I think people should really hear what you have to say. This resolve should color each of our policies and consider our approach to big tech, the worst companies that prey on children. Now, I want to really highlight this point because they're not. No, like right now, I've only got like 2 other people in my Twitter because again, I'm shadow banned heavily. But if you want to jump up on here, it's fine because we can go back and forth and we'll make it a thing. But yeah, So this I want to make important that this institution is not against big tech, because they need big tech in order to enforce the surveillance state. And so, like, in order for them to be able to monitor our communications and make sure that we're not organizing and make sure that we're not doing anything that can be considered unfriendly to the current habitus, they have to use big tech. They have to use these social media platforms and things of that nature to spy on us, so that they can get their taste of what are these people talking about. They have to spy on us unfriendlies. I'm not going to say that one because that's going to get me banned. But many Silicon Valley executives famously don't let their own kids have smartphones. They nevertheless make billions of dollars addicting other people's children to theirs. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all social media platforms are specifically designed to create the digital dependence that fuels mental illness and anxiety to fray children's bonds with their parents and siblings. Federal policy cannot allow industrial scale abuse to continue. Now, here's the thing. We can combat these things by enforcing a new social norm. We don't need the government to say, "Hey, okay, we're going to essentially remove generalized access to social media, and it's because we're protecting the children." It's not. They don't like us organizing. They don't like what we're saying, and they don't like the fact that we are actually putting up a fight to a lot of the systems and institutions that the government is proposing against us. Look at how easily Kellogg's stocks were dropped because people were mad that a guy said something insensitive about us not being able to afford groceries anymore. And they don't want us to have that kind of power. Right? Collective power has always been the enemy of these tonight at 8 p.m. Wait, is the Saul Grover tonight at 8 p.m.? Is that? Because I'm watching that. If it is, like, I will end this way before that. Oh my God, it's tonight? I'm there. You already know I'm there. You already know I'm there. Please, Christy, don't. I'm there. Tonight at 8 p.m. All right. Eastern Standard Time, right? Oh my God. Yes. Oh my God, yes. I'm excited for that one. Finally, conservatives should gratefully celebrate the greatest pro-family win in the generation, overturning Roe v. Wade. Let's, because they want to make it like a states' rights argument, but they want reproductive autonomy to be largely inaccessible, because they know that if they can strong arm women into having, reproducing, if you want to go ahead and request, let me see, can I invite guests? Let me see. Create ball. I don't know if I can do that. Anyone who wants to, if you have questions or anything, you can go ahead and request up. I'm fine with it. Did I make you a mod or no? Hold on. Okay. All right. I think. Oh, they took away your live access? Message me and I can get it back. Oh, you mean tonight? Okay, yeah. So the overturning of Roe v. Wade means that women are going to be subjected to extremely harsh policies in regards to reproductive autonomy. And we already know that is the reason why a lot of women are able to make a clean break from maybe abusive relationships or bad marriages or other traps, especially considering forced marriage. And what will happen is they will force you to essentially, how do I put this in a safe way, consummate the marriage, which often ends in, have you seen the Idaho issue now? Yes, which I'm currently trying to confront as far as like on an activist platform. But yes, it prevents women from making a clean break. And oftentimes in forced marriages, they force these women to participate in relations with the male that they're forcibly being married to. And often enough, it does result in a pregnancy, which makes that male inescapable and then forever ties them to you. And this is what they want to happen to women who interact with men in general, which is why there's this big push against things like separatism and 4B. And because like people agree with the principles when they're separate in general, but they don't agree with them when they're being practiced collectively. They they say that don't want to get pregnant, then don't have relations. Women are like, okay, yeah, I agree with that. Um, if you don't want to spend your life serving someone, don't get married, don't have kids. Okay, I agree with that. And then they do these things. They don't do the actual relations. They don't date. They don't have children. Don't do all of these different things. And they're like, no, wait, because now we need you to produce the next generation. But women are like, okay, well, how do I benefit? And that ties into me telling women to start being a lot more transactional, because if we aren't transactional, then we are essentially sabotaging our futures to people who we don't even know, people who may not necessarily even care about you. And that is a recipe for disaster. That is why a lot of women throughout history have this kind of like bitterness towards the newer generation, because we are not necessarily doing that and we don't have to. And so that they think that, well, I have to suffer, so what do I get? A decision that for 5 decades made a mockery of our Constitution and facilitated the unalivings of tens of millions of unborn children. But the Dobbs decision is just the beginning. Conservatives in states and in Washington, including the next conservative administration, should push as hard as possible to protect the unborn in every jurisdiction of America. So basically saying that you don't get to practice reproductive autonomy. In particular, the next conservative president should work with Congress to enact a more robust protection of the unborn, and Congress will support while deploying existing federal powers to protect the innocent life and vigorously comply with statutory bans on federal funding of reproductive autonomy. So basically making it inaccessible. I don't think that the government should have to pay for them. I don't think that they even are, but I do think that women should be able to access reproductive health care, including access to abortion. And they've already come from IVF. They're going to start coming for birth control. They're going to start coming for Plan B and anything that could be considered a threat to women's fertility, because they think that we should be doing this. We already see in certain states where even in cases of rape and incest, women and girls are not allowed to receive reproductive health care because it quote unquote violates, yeah, it is. It's like having a handler. It violates women's reproductive autonomy, and it violates the habitus of us being forced to reproduce the next generation. And they won't just attack us on that front. They're going to attack us ideologically, because they need us participating in wed spaces so that there's a greater chance of women being subjected to things like pregnancy and cohabitation and marriage and dating and all of these other things, because then an oops can happen. And an oops means that the next generation is being produced. Conservatives should ardently pursue these pro-life and pro-family policies while recognizing the many women who find themselves in immensely difficult and tragic situations and the heroism of every choice to become a mother. So they're basically saying if you're a mother, you're a hero. But still, where's the benefit? Alternative options to abortion, especially adoption, should receive federal and state support. In summary, the president has a moral responsibility to lead the nation in restoring the culture of life in America again. So the thing is, you will essentially be disabled for a year, and you will spend 9 to 10 months in pregnancy, and then the remaining 2 to 3 months recovering from that. So through that time, you're not working, you're not making any income, and it could literally destroy your life. And they don't have any policies to address this, because they want you to be a lesson. They want you to be, look, see, this is what happens when you don't get married before you do that. Dismantle the administrative state and return to self-governance to the American people. Of course, the surest way to put the federal government back to work for the American people is to reduce its size and scope back to something resembling the original constitutional intent. This is another lie, because again, we live in a surveillance state where it is legal for the government to practice espionage against its own citizens should they say something that violates the habitus. For those of you who don't know what the habitus is, again, that is basically the sorry, my brain is running right now. It's basically an affinity for your socialization and the things that you were taught to accept and believe were true. That's the habitus. And the noble lie is basically a series of brainwashing, teaching people that certain, peace can be maintained in society if certain people are taught that some people are born inferior to others. Let me check this over here. Hey, V, what's up? Oh my God, I didn't know that you were in here. I gotta read these because I didn't see these comments. Yes, it does make women into private property. The liberals say public property. The conservatives say private property. Um, yes. Small government does not belong in the management of women's representation. Absolutely, man. I should have brought you on this panel, but I'm not sure if you read um, Project 2025. I've been posting about it, but again, I'm like shadow banned everywhere. I have 28,000 followers on Instagram, and like currently one person is in this live. So like, it is what it is. But I'm gonna leave up the recording so people could see and talk about what's going on with Project 2025. Okay, Promise 2 is the promise to dismantle the administrative state and return to governance of American people. A fucking lie. They're not going to reduce the government. They're just going to instill, again, a cult of personality who agrees with their existing policies and idealisms around them. So it seems small because they're all friends with each other and they all know each other. And everyone is a friend of a friend. We're basically North Korea over here, or incoming. Conservatives desire a smaller government, and not for its own sake, but for the sake of human flourishing. A fucking lie. But the Washington establishment doesn't want a constitutionally limited government because it means they lose power and are held more accountable for the people who put them in power. Okay, then don't regulate reproductive autonomy. How about that? How about let's not do that? Like restoring popular sovereignty, the task of it reattaching the federal government's constitution and democratic tethers calls to remind of Ronald Reagan's observation that there are no easy answers, but there are simple answers. So essentially removing the nuance. If you could leave the country, where would you go? I would go to Guyana, but I wouldn't leave the country because here's the thing about the United States. The United States holds far too much political power for us to get up and leave. And so if we leave, this could spread like wildfire. This will absolutely spread because the US has a lot of cultural, political, and economic influence. And so people are going to follow in the direction of the United States. So where we go politically, it will eventually spread to South America and then to Canada and then to Western Europe and then to Eastern Europe and then to no, I would never go to Nigeria. I would never ever tell any woman to ever go to Nigeria. Oh my God. Mexico, huge femicide. Excuse me. Huge femicide going on. Huge femicide. Nigeria, simply because I'm a lesbian, I simply would not go. Nigeria is already pretty conservative as it stands today. France would be good, but again, France has a history of, like, if need be, they would definitely France would get invaded. France would definitely get invaded. All right, let me look at this person's socials because I don't want another incident like we had with that guy who was naked. I'm scared to accept people in lives now because of that guy who was naked, y'all. For those of y'all who are here for that, that was like anything. I'm surprised that I still have my account. Okay, this person, I don't know. Please be normal. Yes, nowhere is safe. Nowhere is safe. You can't even go to the Netherlands because now they have legal prostitution. Hey, what's up?
I'm not aware.
Okay, well that's good. Did you have any questions about anything that we were talking about?
Um, Not necessarily because I just came in and not requested, but the part of like the coming dystopia part, does any of this have to do with like trans ideology and stuff? Because I feel like that's coming as well.
This is about reestablishing traditional systems and institutions as a whole. So it's not one particular thing, it's everything. But I want to focus on the element of subjugation. Yes, it is already here. It is already here. But my thing is we have to choose between two dystopias. That's my point. We either choose between Idiocracy or The Handmaid's Tale meets 1984.
But why would you need to choose a dystopia and not just live
Because
in truth?
we don't have any other options in the US. We don't.
You can live in truth. I mean, societal wise, we might not have too much choice, but you can live in truth like in your day to day.
No, but that still doesn't have anything to do with legal restrictions that are going to be placed and the institution of traditional systems and institutions that we long fought to resist.
Right. That's why I bring up the trans thing.
I don't want to get too much into that because that is a very minuscule part of the larger problem.
Okay, in my opinion, it's not minuscule. So why do you think it's minuscule?
All right, I'm gonna because I don't want to derail this. It is extremely minuscule in regards to for those of you who are here. Everything that I just read, it has nothing to do with that. Yes, there is a part where it's just like, all right, we're gonna do away with this, but at the end of the day, most of this that's being read has to do with perpetuating a permanent underclass of female people. That's the issue here. So again, and also a surveillance state, which affects everybody, but again, mostly women. And this is because they're telling us that radical organizing is a problem, and they're justifying it by saying that, oh, okay, well, radicalized women are our primary target. We're going to use surveillance, which again affects everyone, to enforce participation in traditional systems and institutions and stomp out grassroots movements. Yes. Yeah, that's going to come with the territory, and that's kind of why I try to keep this on the radical side of TikTok. And I just know that eventually I'm going to end up on conspiracy talk at some point, but we're ready for that when it comes. In case of making the federal government smaller, more effective, and more accountable, the simple answer is the Constitution itself, which again was written by only male people. The surest proof of this is how strenuously and creatively generations of progressives and many Republican insiders have worked to cut themselves free from the strictures of the 1718 Constitution and subsequent amendments. So basically, they're saying that like everyone who is not them, everyone who is not in their cult of groupthink or cult personality, is corrupting the consensus of the habitus, and it was written 250 years ago. Yeah, it was written with no female input, and it was written from the perspective of only a particular group of men. And who were those men? So, what other platform are you on that allows you to speak more freely? I would say Twitch and YouTube, because Twitch and YouTube do not do me dirty like Instagram and, no offense, but also TikTok. Ooh. Consider the federal budget. Under current law, Congress is required to pass a budget. 12 issue-specific spending bills comporting with it every single year. The last time Congress did so was in 1996. Congress no longer meaningfully budgets, authorizes, or categorizes spending. But they do, because who did we just send several $billion to? Who was that approved by? Couldn't literally couldn't appeal it or anything. And guess what was in there? In that I forgot what was in that bill where we were sending off quote unquote foreign aid. It was both of them, right? Republicans and Democrats. Again, this ties into my point about the formation of a new political party, which is desperately needed in these times. Help to all the new people in Twitch land and YouTube land and Facebook land. GC, yes, this is a big problem in the more conservative elements in these groups, is that a lot of GC women who do consider themselves conservative, they have some proximity to this. And so we have to let them know that, listen, either you support female liberation or you don't. Because a lot of this is strong arming women into participating into systems and institutions that we don't necessarily benefit from. Especially the removal of Roe v. Wade, or the overturning of Roe v. Wade, and the overturning of Harvey Weinstein's charges, which he did not, he didn't get a fair trial. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Why was it not fair? It is a waste of energy to hate males. I would never waste my energy thinking about them. Exactly. Like, see, whenever we focus on what's going on with us, it's considered to be hatred because we're not. He is stuck in the habitus. What they call the matrix is actually the habitus, and that is where he's stuck. And so whenever we organize amongst ourselves, and again, I never said this, most of my spaces are female only, but I never said this was that. This is me telling everybody what's happening, because it does affect everybody. In them trying to repress female people, everybody's there's no holds barred. Everyone's being targeted now. These laws affect everybody. They're meant to quash our movements, but it ultimately equates to everybody being up for grabs. Like, nothing is off limits now. Yep. Okay. Debate time is restricted. Amendments are prohibited. All of this is backed up against a midnight deadline where the previous omnibus spending bill would run out and the federal government shuts down. This process is not designed to empower 330 million American citizens and their elected representatives, but rather empower party elites who are secretly negotiating without any public scrutiny or oversight. This is right. But again, they want to be able to do this without our intervention. Also, thank you to all the sisters who are subscribing. I have special, thank you. I have special emojis and little stickers in the comments for you. So I set that up in case you want to use them. Makes it a little more fun. In the end, congressional leaders' behavior and incentives here are no different from those of the global elites insulating policy decisions over the climate, trade, public health, you name it, from the sovereignty of national electorates. Public scrutiny and democratic accountability make life harder for policymakers, so they skirt it. It's not a dysfunction, it's corruption. Have fun with those stickers. One of them is me, by the way, or two of them. Yeah, two of them are me. My face is like burning still. Despite its gaudy price tag, the federal budget is not even close to the worst example of this corruption. That distinction belongs to the administrative state, dismantling the dismantling of which is a top priority for the next conservative president. They're not going to do this. They're just going to give the money to each other. Like, this is again buzzwords and them lying, saying that, we're going to take down the system. They're using our language against us, but in a really fancy type of way, like in a really, I guess not, Liz. The term administrative state refers to the policy-making work done by bureaucracies of all of the federal government's departments, agencies, and millions of employees. Under Article 1 of the Constitution, all legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, which shall consist of a Senate, a House, a Senate, and representatives. That is, federal law is enacted only by elected legislators of both houses and Congress. This exclusive authority was part of the framers' doctrine of separated powers. But okay, here's the thing: they want to be enabled. They want to be enabled to enact their own religion and nationalist ideologies without criticism from the public. They want to be able to appoint public officials without election. So they're telling us that they're doing the same thing that they're claiming to want to dismantle. They're creating the same institutions that they're claiming that they want to dismantle. Congress passes intentionally vague laws that delegate decision-making over a given federal agency, but they just said that they wanted to do the same thing. That's the agency's bureaucrats, not just unelected, but seemingly unfireable, and then leap at the chance to fill the vacuum created by Congress's preening cowardice. But you just said you wanted to do the same thing. The federal government is growing larger and less constitutionally accountable, even to the president, every year. But that's what you said you wanted to do to us with your own cabinet and your own appointed judges and senators and congressional officials. So it's like, I don't believe you. What is somebody get that meme of that kid that said, "Wow, the land of make believe." That's literally what this is right now. Double speak, absolutely. I had a comment removed as hate speech because somebody posted a piece of artwork was a snail that said said that nature is non-binary, and when I commented simply that humans, however, were binary, the world is insane. Yes, again, a big part of this is them being able to control language and then being able to determine who is able to say what, and then and also the ability to describe what's happening to us. Okay. I'm going to skip this because this is irrelevant. This is just like a bunch of double speak here. It's basically them saying that they want the president to be a dictator. As monolithic as the left's institutional powers appear to be, it originates with the appropriations from Congress and is made for a complete feckless by a complete feckless president, a complete Lee. So that's a spelling error. A conservative president must look to the legislative branch for every decision or action. The administrative state is not going anywhere until Congress acts to retrieve its own power from the bureaucrats and the White House. But in the meantime, there are many executive tools to encourage conservative president that can only be used to handcuff the bureaucracy. I can never say that word. Girl, I am not calm. I'm over here shaking. I'm like, this is our future. This tea is hot as hell now. Paternalism is not going to liberate society. Absolutely not. I really appreciate all the gifts. I really appreciate all the support, all the comments. Oh, I have not been paying attention to Twitter. Let me see if anyone has any comments. Someone posted something. Oh, no, it's the same comment. Yeah, so like if anyone has any questions at any time, feel free to tweet it or raise your hand or request the mic. I don't care which. Okay. Let me go turn the AC on, though, because it's mad hot. It's mad hot now, and I'm... Oh, I almost tripped over one of my dumbbells. That's kind of funny. It's kind of funny how it was. I hate how small my arms look on these videos. They look relatively small. I mean, I guess maybe in comparison with my frame, but still. I'm going to get bigger ones in the meantime. Who is someone that you think would be unperson at this time in history? It could be any one of us. It could be any one of us. Um, with participation from like other countries and things of that nature, they could take someone who is maybe a budding activist or someone who is generally really popular and show us to our faces like, listen, I mean, I don't think it's going to happen immediately. Like, we've got 20 or 30 years or so before it's taken to that extreme. But I'm warning people now because, again, we don't have as much time as we think we do to combat this, because once this train is on the rails, we will have little chance of stopping it. It's like some guy trying to jump in front of a train to stop it. It doesn't work like that. It's just going to run him over. I just hope it's not me, honestly. Like, as much as I do and as much as I say, I don't jump in front of the government and be like, hey, look at me, I'm talking about you, I'm doing all these things, because I don't want that to be me. Um, but I do kind of want to warn people and help us organize to resist this, because, again, eyes on me are my protection. So, like, the more people are seeing me, the more people are consuming my content, the more sort of like protection I have for right now while that is not happening. But once it begins to happen, the more eyes on you, the worse your situation is going to be. The conservative promise lays out how to use many of these tools, including how to fire supposedly unfireable federal bureaucrats and how to shutter wasteful and corrupt bureaus and offices, how to muzzle woke propaganda at every level of government, how to restore the American people's constitutional authority over the administrative state, and how to save untold taxpayer dollars in the process. So essentially censorship. This is INGSOC. Excuse me, this is INGSOC. So, okay, hold on. Oh, see? I drink too much coffee because it's literally stuck right here. Ooh. Excuse me. Okay. So, INGSOC is basically a fictional political ideology. For those of you who have seen 1984, we are having movie night this Sunday. So a lot of this stuff can make a lot more sense to y'all. If y'all want in, please follow or DM me. If you want in, send me your email and we will send you the link so that we can watch this movie together. But yeah, so it's the ruling party of Oceania, one of the main 3 totalitarian super states, and that dominate the world. So it'll be 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then we will watch 1984, and then we can watch it together. Oh, that's right. Yeah, we are hanging out on Sunday, so I guess we can watch it together. Yeah, 1984, and I do want us to watch Idiocracy because that's another example of a dystopia, but we can't do both in the same night. That's just going to be too many hours. But yeah, send me a DM if you want in on movie night. Send me your email, and I will get it to you. But yeah, it's one of the INSOC is characterized by oppressive control over every aspect of individual life, including thought, speech, and behavior. Later, 7 p.m. 7 p.m. is cool. We'll do 7 p.m. The party is led by Big Brother, a figurehead who symbolizes an omnipresent surveillance and authority figure of the regime. INSOC uses propaganda, surveillance, and brutal repression to maintain its power and enforce conformity amongst the populace. So this is basically INSOC. Like, this is exactly what they're doing, word for word, bar for bar. Thank you, supervillain. Finally, the president can restore public confidence and accountability to our most important government function of all, national defense. So it's basically saying that they want to hyperfund the military. So all of the money that they said that they were going to save the American people by not giving to other countries, they're just going to put it into the U.S. military. The next conservative president must possess the courage to relentlessly put the interests of everyday Americans over the desires of the ruling elite, which they will never do. Their outrage cannot be prevented. It must simply be ignored, and it can be. The left derives its power from the institutions they control, but those institutions are only powerful to the extent that the constitutional officers to their own legitimate authority to them, who surrender their own legitimate authority to them. A president who refuses to do so and uses his or her office to reimpose constitutional authority over federal policymaking can begin to correct decades of corruption and remove thousands of bureaucrats from positions of public trust they have so long abused. So basically, they're saying they're going to take away any protections or buffers between the American people and any of the bureaucracies. Now, bureaucracies suck 100%, but that is the buffer that we have between us and the government. A lot of these institutions, like the EPA, which they want to get rid of, like different institutions that put pressure on political parties to address certain issues. What was it? I forgot this organization, but it's basically because a lot of us don't have significant political representation, and they're banking on that to be able to do whatever they want, because they just said that they're going to surround themselves with people who agree with them ideologically and then appoint them to positions of power. And that's how they're going to be able to get away with what they want to, because they're now trying to portray themselves as the majority by securing political power and appointing people to powerful positions to increase and consolidate power. They know politicians don't care about all of these edicts once the money comes in. Exactly. But the thing is, they want to take control of all of the money. And this is how they're going to do it. Now, this one I'm about to get into, when they say defend our nation's sovereignty, borders, and a bounty against global threats, what they mean is anything that violates the habitus. Like, all of these are just code words to mean the same thing. Anyone who opposes the noble law will be considered basically an enemy of the state and a foreign ally. So, like, for instance, in China, I've been banned from Weibo, I've been banned from Douyin, I've been banned from WeChat, and that's because they consider feminism over there to be a foreign force. So, like, if you are invested in any form of political activism where you are, and you communicate with a Chinese citizen, they'll consider that to be foreign forces, and you're doing like espionage against the Chinese state or the Chinese Communist Party. And so I can no longer access these platforms. I'm actually IP banned from all of them. I'm going to type it in here. Hold on. And we're going to start doing movie nights at least once a month. Yes, the world is insane. I'm going to put this on mute real quick, because I'm hearing feedback and I don't want to hear feedback. The United States belongs to we the people. All government authority derives from the consent of the people, and our nation's success derives from the character of its own people. So if that was the case, instead of pushing to place their ideological allies in positions of power, they would say, hey, we should have more elections for these positions, and we would introduce term limits. Why not? Why haven't they? Because they want to appoint people in positions of power that's going to help them consolidate power. So again, that's a bullshit and that's a lie. We cannot outsource others. We cannot outsource to others our obligation to ensure the conditions that will allow our families, local communities, churches, synagogues, and neighborhoods to thrive. The buck stops with each of us. Each of us must have the freedom to pursue the good of ourselves and those entrusted into our care. That's just a bunch of other long speak for enforcing conservatism on the populace. To most Americans, this is common sense. Nope. But in the sense of Washington, D.C. and other centers of leftist power like the media, the academy, and the statement of basic civics branded as hate speech, progressive elites seek to speak out in lofty terms of openness, progress, expertise, cooperation, and globalization. But too often, these terms are just rhetorical Trojan horses for the concealing of their true intention. The cognitive dissonance of whoever wrote this. It's literally exactly what they're doing. Their true intention, stripping we the people of our constitutional authority over our country's future. America's corporate and political elites do not believe in the ideals to which our nation is dedicated. Self-governance, rule of law, and ordered liberty. But they literally oppose the self determination of female people. They certainly do not trust the American people, and they have disdain for the Constitution's restrictions on their ambitions. But you just said that instead of electing people into these positions of power, you want to appoint conservative people, or representatives with conservative values. Yes, I'm going to post this. It's going to be posted to YouTube and where else. I'm going to even download this and post it to a channel just in case. But yeah, I'm going to move into that point in a moment. I have like a couple more things to read, and then I'll move into like organizing effectively, resisting the habitus, and community building. But thank you for dropping in. I really appreciate it. Instagram about to fall off again. I know I ain't been live for what's called. No, so my Twitter account is at or Separatist Sister. My main got taken down. I'm doing okay. What's up? I mean, Twitch is showing love for real. I'm not gonna lie. Twitch is loving right now. Very loving. Let's see. I'm just curious. I'm gonna clock in then sneak back on. Hold on. Oh my god, so I just looked at my Twitch page and it says Sister Separatist content is intended for certain audiences. It may contain significant profanity or vulgarity. I don't have any sexual themes on my Twitch streams or graphic depictions of anything. So, um a debate that's for later on. I'm not particularly trying to reach people about um what's it called? I'm sorry. About political intervention. My brain is done right now. No, I mean I am on Twitch. I can debate here. Host. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Uh, oh, these are the things that these are the things that they're telling me to do. Okay, back to where I was going. But yeah, like Twitch, I can do debates, but I definitely need someone to help keep it like civil. So yeah, the transition project is a lot. This is 902 pages. I'm definitely not going to get to all of it today. But yes, anti-nationalism is at the front of our protections because that's what they're pitching to us is going to save us. That's what they're pitching to us that is going to be like our liberating force. And nationalism only exists for the repression of certain groups of people. And we've seen this done so many times throughout history. It will never help us. It will never aid us. And it has nothing to do with our liberation or autonomy. Nationalism is our enemy, especially female people. Female people have no loyalty to any nation, um, because these nations aren't willing to protect us. Wing, right wing are two wings on the same bird. It's the same bird. Both roads lead to the same destination. And they don't want us to recognize this. This is why they're trying to strong arm us into participating in these systems and institutions that don't benefit us in any way. America's bicentennial, which culminated on July 4th, 1976, was a spirited and unifying celebration of our country, its founding, and its ideals. As we approach our nation's 250th anniversary, which will take place during the next presidency, America is now divided between two opposing forces: woke revolutionaries, those who believe in and those who believe in the ideals of the American revolutionaries. Nothing about any of this is revolutionary. Hi, I am David. I feel the government needs to take care of the American people before everyone else. Well, see, here's why they're never going to do that. They're never going to do that because that's not where the money is, right? And these people, they know that if they invest in a dystopia, they and their entire bloodline will be set for the rest of their lives. Like up to 6 generations of their family will be protected by the wealth built by a dystopia. The former believes that America is and has always been systemically racist and that is not worth celebrating and must be fundamentally transformed, largely through a centralized administrative state. So this is COINTELPRO rearing its ugly head again, because we can say that through its formation, it was exclusive. I mean, come on. They had slaves. You can't tell me that you were thinking about the slaves when you were writing the Constitution. Come on. Now, the issue here is that they think that these ideals, because they specifically pertain to a particular group of people, should be protected. So that do you do supplements? Yes, I do. I currently use creatine. All right, this is the first person I'm going to accept on Instagram. Please don't be crazy or do anything strange. The latter believes in America's history and heroes, its principles and its promise. And in everyday Americans are the American way of life. Did you have any questions? Hey, what's up?
She's not joining. Just wanted to know what kind of stuff you're talking about.
So we're talking about Project 2025, resisting the habitus and the incoming dystopia that will be American society if we are faced with this. Hold on, let me mute this because this is kind of loud and it's echoing.
Sorry, you have to speak up. I can't hardly hear you.
Okay, so what I want you to do is go on my YouTube and I'll explain everything. Because I seem to have an issue with this phone. Yeah. All right. So, for those of you who are just joining in, I see on what's it called on these other platforms, whatever platform you're coming from, stream platform you're coming from. But thank you for the heart. Thank you, Kitty. What was I talking about? Yes. So this is about Project 2025. And for those of you on TikTok who can see, we've discussed Bill 702, unpersoning the current surveillance state, the mandate for leadership, which is basically the manifesto for those who want to enact Project 2025, social repression, and how they are going to stomp out resistance movements that are currently taking place through the appointing of basically a cult of personality. So their goal is to get a Republican or conservative president elected. And then with that, they're going to start appointing people who align with those values into positions of power while abolishing anything that could significantly challenge the systems and institutions that they're looking to implement. I don't know how to take that off of there. Oh, there we go. And again, I'm still learning to use this platform, so bear with me, y'all. Just years after the unaliving or of the passing of the surviving Constitutional Convention delegate, James Madison, Abraham Lincoln warned that the greatest threat to America would not come from without, but from within. This is evident today, whether it be a mask or vaccine mandates, school and business closures, efforts to keep Americans from driving gas cars and using gas stoves, or efforts to defund the police and indoctrinate school children, alter beloved books, and abridge free speech to undermine the colorblind ideal, or deny the biological reality that there are only two sexes, the left's steady stream of insanity appears to be never ending. Here's the problem with that. Oh shit, what's up, Burb? Here's the problem with that. They have no investment in, which is a lesser of two evils. So here's the thing. If a Republican or conservative president is elected into American office, Project 2025 gets implemented the first day, right? So that is the 1984 meets 1984 meets The Handmaid's Tale dystopia. If the left is again elected into office, we are looking at 1984 versus Idiocracy. I don't know who has seen these, if anyone has seen these movies, but one is much easier to fight than the other. We can still fight for sex-based protections under Idiocracy. We can still fight to appoint our elected officials or officials that align with our values under Idiocracy. Under 1984 meets The Handmaid's Tale, our roles will be largely reduced from society. Women will be stuck in abject poverty. We will become destitute. We will lose a lot of our careers, a lot of the protections that are remaining still. And so this is one of our only options. We have to develop a new political party to address these issues. We don't have a choice. The left is not going to protect us, but they will be easier for us to fight than whoever the conservative or Republican leader will be. They will be much easier to fight. Excuse me. The next administration must stand up for American ideals, American families, American culture, all things which thankfully most Americans still believe. Now, here's the thing. I'm not anti-family, but I do recognize the truth about the nuclear family specifically. They portray the nuclear family model as the only valid one, and I'd say blue. Because again, blue is easier to fight than red. And the second, again, once the train is on the tracks, there's no stopping it. You can't jump in front of a train and then think you're going to push it in the opposite direction. It's going to keep running. So what we have to do is, under a blue administration, we have to begin immediately implementing forming our own political party, and then electing representatives from that party. I'm starting small with like local Florida representatives, and trying to find women to run who share our values, because we don't have any other options in this regard. And our issues will go largely unaddressed, and our role in society will still be reduced. One path is longer than the other. Don't get me wrong. Both paths lead to the same destination, but one is longer and smoother. Yes, I will be up in Pensacola in the next couple weeks. Highlighting the need, former director of the Office Management and Budget, Russ Vaught, writes in Chapter 2 that the modern conservative president's task is to limit, control, and direct the executive branch on behalf of the American people. So he's essentially going to be installed as a dictator. He's going to be telling them what to do. Hey, what's up? Excuse me. Let me scroll down to the next important part. Sorry. Hold on. I'm looking for something specifically. Okay, here we go. All right. The president must rely on the men and women appointed to the World Health Organization. There are simply not enough hours in a day to manage the affairs of the state single-handedly. So delegation is not just advisable, it's essential. So when they say delegation, they mean they're appointing to, Oh shit. Oh yeah, y'all told me that. Y'all told me that. We're all in the same group. Planet B messaged me so I can add you to the WhatsApp group. But when they say delegate, they're essentially sending people, they're appointing people to these positions of power who are going to affirm their political ideology. Um, to affirm their political ideology. They are building a cult of personality around themselves to so that they won't face any significant pushback when they are implementing laws. It's like they're basically ignoring everyone else and saying, hey, this is what we think we should do, and so we're going to do it, no matter if you agree with it or not. It has nothing to do with the majority. It has nothing to do with what people believe. What's up, sis? Hey, it's been a minute. It has nothing to do with what the majority of people believe. It's about enforcing traditional systems and institutions in order to save the habitus and the current social hierarchy that exists today. And that's what whenever they say delegate and then they're going to appoint people to certain positions of power, it's so that they can consolidate and maintain power without being challenged significantly. And this is why we're seeing them build Cop City, where they're building it. The White House office, oh my God. So it's not the World Health Organization, WHO's White House office. Among the most demanding in all of the government, the president must be, yeah, okay. Choosing who will carry out the agenda on a daily basis is not only one of the first decisions a president makes in office, but also one of the most critical. The tone and tempo of an administration are often determined by January 20th. So this is here's where we go from there. Organizing is going to require a lot of effort and sacrifice on the part of people who are looking to invest in grassroots initiatives. And let me tell you what I mean when I say invest in grassroots initiatives. You have to contribute in some way to local organizations who are seeking the resistance of or against Project 2025. But we have to do so in a way that is very careful. We have to do so in a way that is very effective. And the way that we do this is by getting out there and meeting people in community, sussing them out, using secure communications, and also building an image and audience for ourselves. We cannot, this is not the time to be timid in your actions. Every element of what makes a grassroots movement work will have to be, how do I say this? What's the word for thank you for the gifts? What's the word that I'm looking for? We have to excise them. We have to exercise them fully. We have to inject them with steroids. Everything that we can possibly be doing, we have to be doing. And I mean campaigning. I mean developing developing a cohesive political message and ideology. Hosting groups, hosting consciousness raising events, practicing privacy, and growing an international audience. I'm not saying everybody has to become an influencer, but for every local region, you need 3 major players, and they have to be responsible. And we need clear communication. We need clear, consistent communication, because if communications break down, the movement loses its footing and we lose our ability to cooperate properly. So someone has to be willing to be the face of something while maintaining those values. And this particular element is going to be difficult because there's a lot of people who just want clout and fame. This particular element is going to be difficult because there are going to be people who just want clout and fame. But if anyone is truly invested, we have to find those people who are willing to put themselves out there and grow an international audience. For instance, just like how we saw with Palestine, we had influencers who were Palestinian who were getting up on their platforms and saying, listen, look, this is what's happening to us and this is how you can help. Because if we have an international audience, we have that protection of, okay, we can ask the world to to lend us their eyes and attention and to assist us in some way. How you doing, Liz?
Break. I just had a quick question.
Go ahead, ask.
So, and forgive me if you've asked this already, but do you mind muting up just so that the echo goes away?
Oh, let me How do I do this? Hold on. Give me a second.
Yeah, perfect. I don't know why it does that sometimes. So because for like people like us who would call ourselves rad fem, we sort in terms of community outreach, because I know that's what you're talking about. How do we? Because I don't. For me personally, like I agree with most of the stuff on the left, but I hard disagree with one particular issue, and I know you know the issue I'm talking about. Like, how does that work? And we don't. That's sort of unique, I think, to radical feminists, and there's not that many of us out there. So, in terms of community outreach and in terms of like supporting organizations that are politically aligned, like how do you propose navigating that?
So what I would do is we have to get ahead of organizing. We have to get ahead of organizing initiatives, and we have to take control of the narrative. Because if we do, there will be no ideological cohesion, because there's so many different, like the left is very fractured. Actually, a lot of people don't know this. The left is very fractured. And so they have very different ideas of what should be what. And if we get ahead of the organizing and we say, hey, these are the very generalized ideas that we are pursuing, we get ahead of that, and we already have built like we have already built this community and this expression of this is what we're going after. Join us. um the way that I reach out specifically is like I'll go stickering, I'll hang flyers, I'll have meetings, I'll do movie nights, I'll host consciousness raising events where maybe I'm reading something like a pamphlet or like a radical book from history or something like that, or I'll have like a script where I'm explaining cultural phenomena throughout history, like the rise of the communist movement, or sorry, the rise of communism in general, or like how prohibition happened, or how a lot of women's movement, or how a lot of generalized movements were started from women's movements, the history of protest, methods used by like the suffragettes, radical messaging, like getting someone to maybe play a song that's more political at their show, introducing people to more radical media that aligns with our values. There are so many methods that we could take, but we also have to be careful about sending the wrong message. And the way that we do this is we develop like a leadership consensus where there's a group of us and we vote on what we approve and what we don't. And we also warn each other of actions that we take throughout different forms of activism, whether it be a protest, a march, whatever have you. And then so everyone knows what everyone's doing, and then our actions are as organized as our ideology. Oh, let me mute.
That's all I have to say. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh no, you're good. You got it. You got it. So okay, one of the first points I want to get to. I know it's not in order, because I just kind of dashed this out at the last minute when I heard of the passing of Bill 702. We have to develop a way to resist the habitus. Some people call it the matrix, whatever have you. We have to develop our own way to resist the habitus, because this will influence the way we look at the world. So I would say investing in independent media, researching a journalist before you consume their media. Not everybody doesn't have time to do this. And so for those of us who can, we should. I myself am compiling a list of news sources that are generally trustworthy, and then how to gauge the trustworthiness of a political piece that's been written. And I have this 6-page PDF that teaches you how to basically use critical thinking when you are looking at, or when you're reviewing a piece of news or media, and you might be skeptical. You should always be skeptical, but when you feel you're most skeptical, that's your intuition telling you, hey, something, you might want to look into this here. Might want to look into something else here. I want to teach people how to read into media and then pick out the facts and leave behind the fiction. Because one of the ways that a lie is made appealing is through adding elements of truth into that lie. And so if we're able to pick out the lies from the truth, then we're able to determine what is needed to be addressed and how to move forward and how to carry ourselves, not just in our activism, but in our daily lives. Because a lot of the journalistic integrity from the early 2000s has been lost. You see, like, for instance, Vice Media making deals with Saudi Arabia to be like exclusive in certain types of reporting or reporting for events there. So, like, a lot of stuff is going to be like puff pieces. You see, certain news sources like CNN or MSNBC not practicing true criticism against the current administration because they don't want to build apathy towards the current political office. Um, you see that maybe Newsmax is more on the conspiracy side of things, and they look at things through the lens of nationalism and wanting to preserve the traditional elements of society. And so, in order for us to combat that, we have to come to this, like, first of all, consuming independent media, consuming radical media, radicalized media, and reading consistently as often as possible. This is not possible for every single person, but if you have even 5 minutes to pick up something and read it, a radical piece of media specifically, then you should, because that breaks the habitus, and it help the more you break that habitus, the more you resist the habitus, the more you are able to disconnect from the noble lie. Thank you. Yo, what's up? I ain't seen you in a minute. I'm gonna start going live more, I promise. All right. Did anyone in TikTok land or YouTube land have any questions before I move on to the next point?
Um, recommendations for what specific media you're finding that is trustworthy and balanced these days?
So the stimulator, hold on. I'm gonna pull up bookmarks because this is, hold on. Um so hold on. I wonder if Insurrection News is found. Submedia, there we go. Submedia is a very good one. Hold on. Oh my god, my glasses are right there, but keep falling because they don't fit my head anymore. It's mostly my hair. Okay. Submedia. I'm gonna release a list of this on my official website, actually. Oh no, it's gone. RIP. So there was a website called insurrectnews.com that used to report like very radicalized media, and it was also, thank you. It was nonpartisan, so it reported the very truth on issues without having investment in either side. Hold on. And Submedia and what's it called? What was the other one? Was it Regfog? No, Collective Media. So Channel Zero, Channel Zero Network, Collective Media, and Submedia are one of the biggest and best radical media that reports on issues all over the world and nonpartisan. What's up to the people in Instagram land? I'm just redirecting people to my YouTube because I'm shadow banned on Instagram for some reason. They hate me over there. They hate me at Meta. Let's see. Where's the other one? I'm going through my bookmarks, y'all. Can you please post them in the chat so I can screenshot? How do I do that? How do I do that? Can I? Let me see. Oh, shit. Hold on. Hold on. Let me mute. I'm muted.
So okay, you figured it out. Never mind.
Yeah, like I said, I'm in my dinosaur era. I'm still learning how to work out these new technologies. Um, but yes, submedia, collective, and network. Hold on. I know not everyone agrees ideologically, okay? But Freedom News, it is an anarchist publication, but they will always tell you the truth. Let me see.
A lot of these, the issue with a lot of these news outlets is not necessarily that they're lying. It's just that they're omitting, like what they're choosing to cover paints a picture that is very misleading oftentimes, right? Like two different news outlets with two opposing ideological standpoints will cover completely different things and make the world look like two completely different places.
Okay, I'm going to do this. So, okay, yes, lying by omission. I'm impressed by how many news sources you know. Yo, I've been into this scene for about 10 years now, so I have a list of different, some of them are no longer around, but I have like a list of places that I read from as opposed to like CNN or CBS or MSNBC, and those are like last. What's up? Hello? Yes? Did you have a question? All right, guess not. Um, yes, let me aim this back up. So yeah. I was involved in a lot of activism since I was around 16, 17 years old and invested in feminism, specifically radical feminism since I was 15 years old. And I've been an activist for 10 years now, in and out of the activist scene for 10 years. So I have a lot of different news sources. Myself has started writing. I'm trying to have a 24/7 radical feminist news resource, and a lot of the ones that remained really steadfast, and that's because they are true in what they report on, and they still maintain journalistic integrity as opposed to like the bigger mainstream news sources. Anarchist Federation is a good one. Let me see. Neighborhood Anarchist Collective. And again, I get that not everyone agrees, but they still the main point is maintaining journalistic integrity. That's what we're looking for. We just need true stories. We just need honesty so that we can move accordingly. When information is omitted or certain information is not shared, then we come to this place of moving in a place of ignorance, and we never want to do that because we end up shooting ourselves in the foot that way. It's just someone who requested help. I'm answering all questions about Project 2025 and the surveillance state. Right now, I'm covering how to organize effectively and also looking at being able to discern what is true from false. Um, ainfos.ca is a good one because it has a this collection of news sources. So it's not just one thing, it's a bunch of different things. And it has stuff from like Greece and France and Italy and Brazil and Russia and the US and the UK. So you want to cover as much ground as you possibly can. The Neighborhood Anarchist Collective looks like it's closed. Oh, It's Going Down is a good one. Crime Think is a good one. Solidarity News, is that still around? I don't know. No, it's not. That's unfortunate. The Intercept is not anarchist, but it's still very good and still very honest. Um, very critical of all governments because they'd be lying to us. It's Going Down was one of the biggest ones when I was like involved in activism, and everybody was on like Mastodon. Um, and everybody had like that Rise Up email before you had to like have people that helped you get in. I lost mine. I had a Rise Up email, and but then I haven't signed in for like years, and then it went away. Crime Think is another good one. They have documentaries, they have podcasts, they have all this good stuff on there. So yeah, being conscious of the media that you consume is a very big part of radicalizing yourself and resisting the habitus. Now, community building is slightly more different because when you have so many personalities to come together, sometimes we resist each other, and sometimes there's like this instinctiveness to fight and to do things a particular way. But we have to remember being open to some different things. Female dating strategy is not really a news source. It's and I don't want to promote it because like I don't think it's a bad thing, but I think it's more of women surviving sexist violence, but like it doesn't pertain to political news specifically. And this is specifically about that, like resisting certain types of political repression, especially in regards to political movements.
If I'm not mistaken, I would have to check their website. Like, I believe they've kind of moved over into a like news coverage space in terms of like things that are relevant to feminism. I would have to double check that. But the time I went, like, I looked up some sort of issue that was going on, and like, there was an article from them on there, and it seemed so. So I think it's possible that that's kind of the direction they're moving in.
Yeah, it is, but it's more of it, like almost exactly what it sounds like. It's about women's interactions with men, but it's not specifically about the pursuit of like political power or political cohesion or organizing in any way. So like when you meet the first page, it does do feminist conscious raising. I'll give it that. But it doesn't address anything in like specifically about politics. Okay, so let me see. It's why we don't talk about pick in 2024. The U.S. birth rate drops to a record low, ending the pandemic uptick. Um, Another window into weaponized incompetence. Why Idaho's hospitals are having pregnant patients airlifted out of the state. Did I cut him off too fast? Today is my 35th birthday and I don't know how to feel. Reddit, PDF file goes apeshit in defending himself. So yeah, it's more about things specific to social and cultural phenomenons, less than political. And we want to focus on political because political organizing is going to be one of the most important elements of pursuing political power. Social power and cultural power are also important. I will never deny this. No, it's just it's a comment. But yeah, like this is something that's secondary. I want to focus on like local news, world news, things that are happening right now that need to be addressed.
So important to remember because we overestimate, we overestimate our own level of media literacy. Like we all fancy ourselves able to distinguish between truth and a lie, but that is becoming less and less the case, especially as it's getting more advanced in terms of these like smear campaigns and disinformation campaigns on the internet. So if, especially on apps like this app, Instagram, whatever else, if they tell you that the sky is blue, verify it. Like anything that you hear on there, don't just take it as fact. And we do that way more often than we realize. Way more often than we realize. Like you hear something enough times and you just assume that it's true. So like we really need to get into the habit of just verifying everything and being skeptical in that regard.
I just started speaking and this one was on mute. I highly promote skepticism when it comes to what the media is feeding to you, because again, they're not going to give you the information that you need to dismantle their systems and institutions. Like, these are the things that they eat off of. They eat off the habitus. And so they're not going to tell you how to desist or deconstruct from it or how to divest from it. They're going to give you what you need to hear to continue to invest in it and continue to perpetuate it amongst the newer generations. So let me move on to, if they say it's Monday, check the Ethiopian calendar. But yeah, okay. Community building. Back to community building. Yeah, community building is particularly difficult because we all have different ideas of the way that how things should be. And a lot of people want to be the leader all at once, but we have to remember that centralized power is what got us here in the first place. I hate how small my arms look in this. Oh my god. I'm gonna start doing a heavier routine, I think. But yeah, everyone is gonna have ideas about how they think the world should work, but centralized power is what got us here in the first place. And so we have to have collaboration. We have to have collaboration with women from other groups so that we understand where they're coming from and why, and if they're offering a perspective that is more constructive than our own, and if their perspective is more challenging of the habitus than our own. Yes, there is power in community, and I keep knocking these glasses on my face, and I just got a fingerprint on it. Tell me why. Where's my spray? Where's my glasses spray? And that's why I can't see worth a damn. It's because it's got fingerprints all over it. All right, and so now I will officially be taking questions. Anyone who has questions, request the mic, leave a comment, reply to the tweet. I don't care. I'm answering questions now. A lot of activists don't want to associate with us. Sometimes they might not have a choice and they'll recognize that. Like, a lot of them won't. Because I've found people who would otherwise never have anything to do with me that are working with me currently, especially on mutual aid distribution projects. Oh my god. Let me hold on. Hold on, I'm here still. Hold on. All right. There we go. There we go. But yeah, a lot of them recognize that they don't have a choice because of the situation. Hold on. Hi, it's me. How can we get? Oh shit, I'm muted. How can we get more women involved? Right now, I feel like the biggest divide is getting women into radical feminism. Is gender ideology. So what we have to do is we have to give this plea for all or nothing. What I start doing is eventual consciousness raising, called lifting. So lifting or peaking is the process of gradually raising consciousness. What you do is I put stickers that go to a QR code, which leads to an educational course for women to take, which I will be posting there. Um, and it exposes them to all of these different ideas that they have not been exposed to because of the habitus. Um, I don't know why Apple's trying to charge me right now, but yes, showing them the things that are happening around the world, showing them the global rollback of women's rights, the females, the deterioration of the female condition globally, all of these different things that compound the female experience that most people don't know or understand. I would say we have the ability to introduce these things to them slowly, because unfortunately in large pieces it's not digestible. You would like some stickers. I have to let me get a little bit more money and then I'll start sending out stickers in mass, because they've gotten more expensive in the past couple of, oh, okay, well, yeah, they've definitely gotten more expensive in the past couple of months than they were. And I think it's because the company that I'm using is independent. And so, with inflation and all of the other things considered, it's been, that's why I'm kind of my work is slowing down a little bit, because I have to compensate for that increase of cost, the increase in cost.
Um, sorry. In terms of, because I know I relatively recently came around on the gender ideology thing. And just this is just what did it for me, like, because I was so on the side of, like, you don't even, that's not even an issue you touch, because very indoctrinated on the left side of the aisle with that. But what did it for me was someone said, how are we going to fight for women's rights when we can't define what a woman is? And just simply hearing that, like, I had never thought of it in those terms before, that, like, just changed everything for me. So I don't know if that would potentially work on anybody else, but that's what worked for me.
Yes. Oh my God, still muted. Yes. And so the biggest part of this is that we have to understand that even though both roads lead to the same place, one road is longer than the other, and the left and the right are working together to ensure um, the maintenance of the habitus. Because if they give us this illusion of two opposing sides constantly fighting with each other, then they keep us they keep us illusioned in this loop of, well, we need to fight for this because these people have better values, or these values align more with mine. What's up, Clef? Hey, thank you for the love. I really appreciate it. If they keep us in, like, illusioned and believing that this one particular idea this one particular party is aligned more so with our ideas, then they can keep us fighting with each other about which party is better for society and influencing culture. But in reality, they're both enemies. They're both the enemy class. They are working overtime, right, trying to make themselves seem more sensible than usual. And that's because they are detecting the disillusionment with that women are experiencing with the left. There was no protection for Roe v. Wade. Obama didn't codify it. Biden didn't codify it. None of them essentially wanted to protect these laws and these bills that ensured that women had access to certain institutions that would protect not just their reproductive freedom, but like sex-based protections in general. And so they know that if they don't carrot dangle us, then we're not really invested in what they have to say otherwise. What do you say to young, brainwashed lefty women who seem so negative about feminism as a movement? One told me it has to be intersectional. This is how I peak. So peaking or lifting is the gradual consciousness raising of women through expressing to them the global plight of female people. Yes. And so, like, If you need help picking someone, what I can do is I can welcome them into a space where they can learn safely outside of everyone else shouting in their ears, because people influence women politically through shame, and they know that women are more susceptible to things like shaming. Women are more susceptible to things like wanting everyone to have a fair chance, because we know what our position has been throughout history, and we don't want that for other people. And so they use these tactics to say, okay, well, if you think this, then you should also believe that, and if you believe that, then you should also believe this. And we know that that's not the case. We know that that's not the case, because certain interests will always be diametrically opposed. And this is one of the heaviest truths that I've come to throughout my journey with activism. I'm so scared for my daughter. Yes, they do. They weaponize what it's not even our nature. We've just been taught to be so empathetic, and what they do is this guilt trip is, oh, you're a woman, so you should understand. And they do this to, believe me, they do this to Black people too. Well, you're Black, you should know better. And they guilt us into believing that if, because our position has been what it is throughout history, then we should be invested in the plights of other demographics, even if it is diametrically opposed to our interests. For instance, traditionalism. They don't care about our suffering. They don't care about anything outside of protecting and enforcing the habitus. So we have to break out of this idea of protecting everyone else and start practicing self-preservation. And part of self-preservation is the development of initiatives to protect our right to pursue self-determination. Exactly. We're basically meat shields for them. And we're meat shields in entertainment. Anyone who does want or is invested in any way in lifting or gradual consciousness raising, DM me. I've got a WhatsApp group, I've got a Telegram group, I have Discord. I'm developing a radical feminist course for young girls and for women. These are two separate courses to help them learn about the history of women's struggle and female advocacy. Yes, that is much better. That gives me height. It gives me some height. I'm still mad about how small my arms look. I'm going to do a lot more lifting this summer. All right, let me see. I don't see any questions from Twitter, so I'm going to scroll through here real quick and see what I got. Well, yeah, and the thing about lesbians is we're here for the radicalism. I know a lot of us who are survivalists, so like if we have to, we'll just run off to the woods. But like that's not going to stop anything. Um, a lot of people say, well, why don't you just leave? Why don't you just do this, or why don't you just build something somewhere else? They're going to come there and subjugate us, right? There's no place where we're going to be able to escape to, because there's no protections against that. Look at what they did to the Uyghurs in China. Look at what they've done throughout history with female prisoners of war. They're not just going to leave us alone. We've seen this through the ideas that they've expressed. They believe that we have an obligation to, at some point, either become mothers or service people to the habitus. And if we don't do these things, then we are an enemy of the state, and we will be treated as such. Would women having a massive shift to independence lead to any reform? Well, yes. So this is the purpose of the development of a new political party. We don't have any significant political representation anywhere in the world. And so if we establish a globalized political party that addresses our issues specifically, we have some sort of political protection. That gives us some sort of avenue to be able to advocate for ourselves and for other female people all over the world. We also need to develop our own systems, because I see that a lot of people are leaving this out of the conversation. We don't have any political systems, which is a whole nother space, because that'll be an all day chat. And I really don't want to be on here talking all day. I'm not that into the sound of my voice. They say I'm erasing my vote, or voting for Trump. See, here's the thing. I don't want to, but I am voting for Biden, because it doesn't matter which conservative candidate you vote for. The second a conservative candidate reaches office, Project 2025 is being implemented. Day one that they hit office, goes into effect. That manifesto goes into effect. Do I want to? No. I actually hate him. I despise him. I don't think he should be anywhere near political office. But I know that there's no other chance to resist it. I really don't believe so. Exactly. And so while he's in office, now we can't forget that him being in office doesn't protect us. It just gives us a slightly longer, it gives us a little bit longer to develop our plans and to make sure that we're developing grassroots movements and our own political party and all of these different things. Jim Crow Joe. Yeah, no, 2025 is way too dystopian, and we've already seen what's going to happen with the we already seen what's happening with the rollback of Roe v. Wade. We've already seen their lack of interest in combating child marriage. We already see that they have no interest in criminalizing pornography as a human rights issue. So the only thing we can do is buy ourselves as much time as possible and then get to work immediately. That's honestly the purpose of me reaching out to all of these different people, and also the purpose of me trying to organize so sporadically like this, is because we really don't have as much time as we think we do. He'll just have a dementia episode, forget the year, and ban women from getting credit cards. Nah, that's not likely. It's like we're basically in a fight between voting for Idiocracy or Handmaid's Tale meets 1984. Idiocracy is a lot harder to fight. I would never vote independent, because it's just another distraction. They have no investment in our issues, and they have no reason to support us politically. He does. He is a dementia-riddled zombie, and the things I want to say about this man would get me kicked off of every social media platform right now. He's creepy. What's up? We have to financially back the independent party to get our... No. So I don't want us to fall into this thing where we're going to be investing in someone else's political initiative. This is why I say we need to form our own political party, like the suffragettes did. We cannot put money into another political party, because it's going to cost us more in the long run. If their values are not inherently aligned with them, no amount of money, like if you are investing financially into ensuring that they're going to push our values, that means they can always be bought. If they don't inherently hold our values, then they don't care about our struggle. They don't. They never will. The independent is just there to make you feel like it's okay for not voting. I would love to form a new party. You're right. I figure speaking for money is speaking their language. You're right. Speaking with money is speaking their language. However, in the context of this, if you purchase someone's advocacy, what is stopping another person from going out and then purchasing it back from you? We have to have someone whose values are inherent to them. And then if our values align, when they run, We know for a long time that they're not going to be corruptible because we're the ones putting them in this position. Now, everyone can be bought. I'm not saying, like, I'm not idealistic and I'm, nobody, if they believe, we believe, they can't be bought. No. But the more we start electing people from our own political party into office, as they slowly become a significant portion and then eventually the majority, it will be much easier to hold on to our advocacy and our values than it would be to be investing in another political party. Because that's going to take hundreds of thousands of dollars that we do not have. Like, I'm struggling right now to provide significant mutual aid, which I'm going to go live in just a second to talk about, separate from this, after I finish with this BS. I'm not saying money shouldn't mean anything, because money is like, it signifies power, but it shouldn't be the end all be all. It's just yeah, right, it's just a tool. So I'm going to give it 5 minutes for questions, and then I'm going to end it right there, and then I'm going to finish editing what I had to edit. I'm not even supposed to be on here, y'all. Ha, somebody's name was Johnny Be Good, like the song. We need to resist their push to go cashless and fight against the social credit system. You know what? I didn't even touch on that. And that's a good point. Cashless is a way to, and here go Instagram ending again. I'm not starting that again because I'm about to finish this out. This has been 3 hours. I've been live for 3 hours. Um, One request to speak. Hold on. Cashless is it's a move to track what our behavior and what we're doing. I gotta run. Thanks so much for hosting this space. Thank you, Liz. Just a horrendous idea that I don't like this social credit system. Yeah, it's horrible and scary. What's up, Lilith's disciple?
Hello, Sasha.
Did you have any questions?
Yes, I personally have a question about which party do you think is safer to vote for in the short term?
In the short term, I would say Biden, because idiocracy is easier to fight than The Handmaid's Tale. Idiocracy is harder to fight than 1984, and because we already live in a surveillance state, um, it would be much easier for a conservative president to quash social movements and to disrupt any grassroots initiatives to remove them from power, because essentially what we're looking to do is to remove these figureheads from power, whether they be left or right. And so in order to do that, we have to be able to fight them in the first place.
I agree that is my point as well, but it seems like there are a lot of gender critical figures here on X that think voting for Trump is voting for the lesser evil.
Yes, they are stuck in this because he appeals more so to, so we shouldn't vote third party. No, please don't vote third party. Here's the thing about right wing gender critical women: they still hold on to that preciousness of traditionalism, and they think that the foundation of society is like the nuclear family and the Bible and their religion and other things that they have affinity for. So, like, traditionalism is inherent to them and it aligns with their values. So, they think that they're saving the country, they think they're saving the world, when in reality, they don't understand that they're throwing the rest of us under the bus and they're making it impossible to resist this new regime.
Precisely, yes. But I personally don't know how many of these gender critical figures are, in fact, just de facto conservative hiding behind the gender critical issues to push more anti-liberal agendas.
So that's a lot of the purpose of why we're seeing more men calling themselves gender critical, is because they want to push traditionalist narratives, and then tell women or lie to women and say that, hey, traditionalists are your friends, conservatives are your friends, we're not your enemy. But we see how they talk about us. We see how they say repeal the 19th. We see how they say, women's role should be reduced to that of domestic roles and nothing more, and portraying us as essentially a monolith. And this is what we want to avoid. We have to listen to them when they're speaking to and about us, because that's going to influence their politics and their behavior. That's going to influence who they're voting for, and that's going to influence what they think should happen to us in society.
Got it. So your message to the women in America is to vote for Biden for now, for the time being, and to organize a grassroots movement simultaneously.
Yes. Because again, both roads lead to the same destination. Biden just gives us a little more time. His road is a little bit longer. He just gives us a little bit more time to be able to organize. Under a conservative, like right now, we are under a Democratic regime. Under a Republican regime, we will not have the ability to organize at all. We see how, for instance, in Georgia and in Florida, they want to make it illegal to protest. They want to make it illegal to host like certain types of meetings or gatherings in public. They don't want us to be able to organize at all. Um, and the democratic system is slightly weaker. And so, in order for us to be able to replace them, we have to be able to fight them. We will not be able to fight a Republican regime at all. We will not. We will be crushed immediately. They support a police state. They support a heavy surveillance state, and they say that. So when they're outright and honest with it, they it's not just bravado. They have what they need to back that up. The democratic element is more sneaky. They lie more, and they care more about appearances. So if they care more about appearances, destroying
And,
that.
and we can use that, and women in America can use that to their advantage.
Exactly. There you go. There you go. And they're easier to defeat in that way. Thank you, T.
Also, another question, Sasha. What do you think the probability for Trump winning the presidency in November is?
Unfortunately, I think it's very high, because women specifically are very disillusioned with the path the left has taken, and their lack of their lack of willingness to protect us in law, and legal infrastructure has largely been placed against us. So we're suffering from. Hold on. We're suffering from this sense of like apathy. Apathy and disillusionment are two very dangerous attitudes to have, especially in a time like this where it's so sensitive and our role in society is largely being reduced. And so I'm trying to encourage women away from that, because it's never good and it doesn't serve us to have those attitudes.
Yes, but we see some recent polls, and it looks like a lot of women still think Biden is the better option.
It's so unfortunate.
I don't really know if this apathy is widespread among the female population in the United States, or is it just restricted to the gender critical side?
No, it's all of us. It's all of us, unfortunately, and all of us are in this position where we're exhausted. We're tired of having to fight everything. We're literally throwing hands in all directions. We call it windmilling. We're literally throwing hands in all directions, trying to combat all of these different things that compound the female experience and female repression and contribute to the hostile political climate against us. And so we look and we see, well, something needs to change, and we don't know where to direct that anger. Excuse me, we don't know where to direct that frustration. Right, and me either. But yeah, this is what we're fighting. We can either choose 1984 plus Idiocracy or 1984 plus The Handmaid's Tale. We don't have any other options at this time, and that's unfortunate. I'm going to place the mandate for freedom on my Twitter page and on my link collective. So when you click like my the link in my profile, you can read it for yourself. But it is very dystopian. They do want to see us largely removed from society, and they really don't care about what's happening to us in the world because they require a permanent underclass to continue to perpetuate themselves.
Precisely, yes. I read some parts of the mandate for leadership. It's extremely sinister, and I don't think this reality is settling in quite well with women in America, and precisely with the gender critical side. They still can't wrap their mind around the fact that the other option isn't any better than the Democratic Party, and it's even worse in many ways.
Absolutely. And I want every woman in here that is listening today, please realize that everything that happens in the US will influence the culture of other nations who are subjected to the United States, is the United States' cultural and economic power. Um, there's a reason that a lot of cultural phenomenons that are reflected in the US are reflected in other countries, and it's because of that cultural and political influence.
Yeah,
I'm struggling to read, and my glasses are right here. Hold on.
but still, Sasha, I remain a little bit optimist regarding the abortion issues because we saw the effects of that in the midterms, and we still see the effects of that in the polls. So I don't really know if Trump really has a strong chance to become president.
Yes. This is one of the number one issues that they claim to. But then again, he can come out and say that he supports it and lie, and they'll fall at his feet. So we have to start pursuing more. We have to do more of these spaces online and off because we have to teach women that the answer is not to be jaded, and it's hard to avoid, especially in times where um, we've been largely removed from activist spheres. So my plan is to just start releasing courses, to start mass producing content and media for women to consume so that they're not consuming like mindless influencer culture stuff that's going to give them bad body image, or news that's mostly lies, or something that offers them no solutions, because there are solutions but they don't want us to know that we have them.
Yes, and Sasha, this is exactly the sentiment that I have when I read Louise Perry's articles. There is always sometimes a good analysis of the current state of affairs, but the solution is never present at the end.
There you go. So I don't see any more questions. I'll give it one more minute for anyone who has any other questions. I'm going to end the live and then get ready to do some mutual aid later today. I would say 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then we can just go forward from there. Oh my God! Now there's 18 other people listening, and they're all anonymous. Isn't that crazy? Tweet your questions, post your questions in the comments, put it in YouTube or Twitter or whatever have you. I'm not going live back on Instagram again. The time limit is too much for me to keep up with. I'm going to do a part 2 on this when I'm a little bit more organized. I just wanted to get this out there because I am I am trying to organize, so I need to inspire that attitude in people where they're like, "All right, I'm going to get involved." Especially for women in Florida. All right. Thank you to everyone for joining. Thank you to everyone on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, LinkedIn, and Instagram. I will be back. You will see me and you will hear from me again. All right.